The first hour of Sportstime is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here are your hosts, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin and Brett Stotts Norsworthy.
Welcome in, middle of the week on a Wednesday. Man, it is very, very pleasant outside. Hope you are enjoying this
I'm Bailey Martin, and you're listening to News Mississippi.
Weather and
a former Columbus official is accused of embezzling nearly 300.
There we go. Live radio, always something that will maybe occur. Nice to have you aboard. Dave Woloshin with you. Brett Norsworthy out again. He will be going for the next week and a half, getting a deserved rest. Drew Barrett filling in. Carl is the producer, and we are now officially underway on a day where, again, the COVID cases, pretty decent news. Not exactly as small, double digits like yesterday, but the triple digits are smaller. The testing positivity coming down, hospital bed capacity coming down. It seems to me that we are steadily getting a little bit better from after those major spikes that we had for a couple of months. In the NBA today, we've got the Raptors in the first of another 4-game set. It's really kind of fun to watch. We've had no sports to a smorgasbord. There is no question about that. The Raptors on top of the Nets to take a 2-game series to nothing lead with about 3:17 to go in the fourth quarter. So that is still a game, very much a game. Now, last night, another number 1 seed fell to a number 8 seed. If you're a fan of the Lakers or you're a fan of the Bucks, which team should be more concerned?
The Bucks. I'm a fan of the Lakers.
You're a fan of the Lakers, the Bucks. Well, I'm going to take the opposite tact on that, Carl. Drew, which one do you think is in more trouble? We got to get Drew's mic on. No. We will get that squared away. Here's my take on it. I think the Portland Trailblazers are for real. Now they've got health. They've added Carmelo. They know how to use him. There's nobody as good as Lillard at the moment. There is McCollum, who's almost as good as Lillard. Take all that into account. Nurkic is healthy and a really solid guy inside on both offense and defense. And I think they're a team. They got to the finals a year ago of the Western Conference. This is a team that is for real, really should not be an 8 seed, and yet they are. And I think they can beat the Lakers in a bubble sort of thing where you're not going back and forth, although Portland is quite the home advantage. But I think Portland's in more trouble than Milwaukee is. They both have to think a little bit about it, and the bubble definitely plays a role.
Yeah, it definitely does. And I think if you're Portland right now, compared to the Lakers, Portland's been playing playoff basketball since the time that they got into the bubble. They've been in that mindset and ready to roll, while the Lakers, Bucks, and other top teams have kind of been easing back into it like they would at the end of the regular season, really resting, not really playing 110% every single night. So obviously I think Portland's got the advantage right now, and especially if Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum keep doing exactly what they're doing, and you can play good defense like they did last night and hold the Lakers to that poorly of shooting. Now, I don't think that the Lakers are going to go 5 of 32 from beyond the arc, every single game this series, but if Dame keeps hitting, I mean, Lakers are in trouble. And,
why wouldn't he? He's been doing it.
Mm-hmm.
He's on a run right now. And it almost seems to me that Portland is a team of destiny. And I'll tell you why. They very easily couldn't have made the playoffs.
And at the beginning, they didn't even really seem like they wanted to.
They shouldn't have beat Memphis in the first game. There's a real good possibility they would have lost to them in the first game of the play-in.
Mm-hmm.
They should have probably lost to Brooklyn in the game that would have gotten Memphis and Phoenix into the play-in game instead of the Trailblazers. Every time they had to have something good happen, it did. Whether it was Damian Lillard or whether it was McCollum or Nurkic, one of those three guys, or Melo. Melo hit the big shot actually in the opening bubble game for the Trailblazers against the Grizz.
And hit a very timely three in the play-in game, and then hit a very big three last night.
Right.
I mean, he hasn't been very consistent, but when it's Melo time and it's time for him to step up, it seems like he's knocking him down. And you're exactly right. I still don't understand why in that Brooklyn game against the Trailblazers, when they have the ball for 24 seconds left to go in the game, they've got a timeout. Don't call a timeout, set something up instead of just holding it for the last shot, which that could have been the difference right there. And we're sitting here talking about most likely, I think the Grizzlies playing the Lakers, although, I mean, the Suns were on a roll 8-0 in the bubble. So
who knows? I know this much. The Lakers would rather be seeing Phoenix or Memphis
they would be.
than to be seeing Portland, a team
Most
that we
definitely
know,
Memphis.
when healthy, they are really, really good. As far as your Lakers go, do you feel, Carl, a little lost here?
No, I don't feel lost. I'm actually still comfortable. It's a series. That was just game one.
Okay.
That's the way I look at it.
It is only game one, and you got to win 4.
Meaning you have to beat the Lakers 4 times.
Yeah.
That's not easy.
That is not easy, and that is a team that earned the number 1 seed, no question about it. But I am telling you, this is a Portland team you better take very seriously. They are not your standard 8 seed.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. But I feel like I said, it's game one. They just had to test them out, see how are they serious in the playoffs. Now everybody's gonna kick it into gear. Our bench and support role, and they have to step up.
Well, now you're right. You can't go down 2 love, and you don't have any home court advantage. There's none in the bubble, and that is definitely, I think, playing a role for a lot of these teams, because there's not going to be any intimidation of any kind unless it is generated by the ball club itself. Now, my favorite story is really not an NBA story. It is from Oxford, Mississippi. And it is Lane Kiffin today coming forth and saying he thinks the NCAA, or college football, but it's really the NCAA that controls these waivers, that they should allow Big Ten and Pac-12 players to just have carte blanche and transfer.
I think I get where Kiffin's coming from. Obviously, some of these guys, they want to play and they don't want to take the chance of losing out on a full season and on spring. But I just think the logistics of it'd be the wild, wild west. I mean, especially if we transfer without penalty like Lane Kiffin is asking for, that could set up a really dangerous premise for basically – anything goes. Like that'd be way too many different guys, way too many, and not enough roster spots. I mean, there's going to be guys that are going to be knocked down by this. And while I know Lane Kiffin wants to have as loaded of an Ole Miss team in his first year as humanly possible, I just think logistically it's just way too much of a pipe dream, and it just can't happen. There's just too much that could and will go wrong if we allow that.
Well, first of all, the timing is nearly impossible.
Exactly. We just don't have time to get these guys into programs.
You're talking about a 4-week swing. You're talking about, in this day and age, introducing all these new players, if they were to come, right in the middle of the pandemic, where testing would have to take place before they could. First, there'd have to be a quarantine. Then you'd have to have a test to make sure once you're out of quarantine that you're good. Then you would have to figure out how you would get a player to know your system. Oh, and by the way, there's this thing called school. Now, I understand.
Yeah, you do have to enroll at a certain point before the semester starts.
A lot of people think this is just a sham, that school really isn't a part of the deal. I'm not one of those folks. I think there is value to scholarships. I think it's important that you get an education. I think that is part of the payment. If you want more, if you want name, likeness, image, I'm all for that. And I've said that the last few years when the money has gotten so ridiculous that they spend things just to spend money. When you got a $212 million athletic department funding, just spending that money like crazy like A&M did last year, that is just...
Or LSU putting in a lazy river just because they can.
It's just out of control. And so, and coaches that get $7 to $9 million, you can make the argument, sure, they're bringing up admissions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If we want to talk about that, there's 2 or 3 that may be worth that kind of money. But the overinflated salaries that they are now getting is crazy. When a coordinator's making $2.5 million a year, you know there's an abundance of cash, and I can understand how players would then say, wait a second, we want some more. But there is something to the educational part. How in the world are you going to get all those guys in that short period of time to a team and go to school? Unless we're just going to say this year school's not a part of the mix. We really want to be a minor league this year. And this is what Lane Kiffin is saying.
Yeah,
in essence,
basically.
He's not saying it, but he's just saying, heck with school. These guys are really, they're just getting ready to become really good players. And you know what? I wouldn't mind having a few really good players
I'm
for
sure you
1
wouldn't.
year.
I'm sure you wouldn't, Coach Kiffin, but just the fact that, like you said, Dave, just the logistics of trying to get everybody into a school, not only just into a program, but like you said, academically enrolled, get schedules and classes and everything like that set up. I mean, that's not an easy thing. I mean, they start doing this for football players, semesters and semesters advances and planning out what classes they're going to take and when they're going to take them, at what times during the day they're going to take them. And it's very hard if Lane Kiffin was able to get 15 guys or so into his program. I mean, I feel so bad for those administrators to try to work everything out and get everybody eligible and make sure that everybody's on top of things. And you also pointed out the timing just isn't going to work out. I mean, we get into a quarantine a lot of these times, especially if you definitely will be coming from a Big Ten or a Pac-12 school when you cross state lines, depending on different policies. I mean, we could be looking at up to a 7 to 10 day quarantine before we even take tests.
Well, let's just say it's 7 days, okay? Just because you maybe you took a test when you got there, you're negative, but the part of the protocol is you got to wait a week, then you get tested again. Okay, let's just say that's the case, and you're studying like the Dickens. It's impossible for a school like Memphis to take one of those kids.
No, it can't do it
because they're playing 2 weeks from Saturday. But the kid would be just out of the quarantine by the time he came. I wouldn't have any practices with the team. He wouldn't know the plays. He wouldn't know anything.
No, and it wouldn't even make sense to try to play him because it'd almost be more damage than good because he doesn't know the system and you don't know how play in shape he is and how ready he is to go coming straight out of a quarantine like that.
Probably should know this by now, but isn't Memphis already in classes virtual?
Yes, classes started on Monday. And I believe they at Lane Kiffin's university, the University of Mississippi, Ole Miss, they started on Monday as well.
So how is that kid going to catch up with going to class? And he's going to be as soon as he got here, he could obviously go to class, but he's not if he's got to consider now because he's getting this waiver.
Yeah,
he's got to pick his school, and they're playing, by the way, in a month.
Yeah, and it's not like he's already got his list narrowed down to 2 and just waiting on 2 different SEC, Big 12, or ACC coaches to call him and say, come to Oxford, come to Chapel Hill, come to Gainesville, right. Pick your city.
And the other thing Lane hasn't considered, how about those guys that came, June 7th, I believe, they were allowed to report to camp for training, just physical fitness and things of that nature. There was no true practice, but remember all those athletes came in, they were quarantined, and then they started training together. Well, you're going to say, okay, wait a second. You've been the number 1 receiver, but we just got a guy
from USC ready to go.
From Michigan or USC. He's really a little bit better than you, and so I know you put in all that work. You'll get some snaps. Don't worry about it. Yeah, that's going to go.
I'd be a little ticked off.
That's going to go over really, really well. So this is it's never going to happen, and I think Lane Kiffin knows it. I think Lane Kiffin likes the spotlight. I think he happens to think that there is value to being the second story on ESPN.com today.
Yeah, I think it's so. I think that maybe if this idea was floated around. Let's say the Pac-12 and Big Ten shut down operations in June. And this idea came up at around 4th of July weekend. Then logistically, we probably could have pulled it off.
Sure.
But not at the almost the tail end of August when we're 2.5 weeks from a lot of programs starting and a month away from the SEC starting. It just cannot happen.
And don't get me wrong. I am okay with this new one-time transfer waiver. And the other reason they didn't put a blanket one-time transfer waiver in right now was for this very reason. They actually were smart. The NCAA realized that there could be some schools playing football while others would not, and that you could lose an entire team if you did that. And so they actually had foresight when they denied the one-time waiver for this year. They've said pretty much next year, done. This is the reason why. And it makes sense because it is not fair to those that are on the team right now, and it's not fair to the university where everybody's going to leave because your conference decided they weren't going to play football. If you're Nebraska, you're going, wait a second, we're not going to lose, guys. We didn't want to not play. So crazy, crazy stuff. We got a busy show for you today, as always. We'll talk about this and a whole lot more in the future of where the bowl games may be going with Steve Earhart from the AutoZone Libertyville. The Big Cheese, the head honcho, will join us at 3:30. As usual, we make picks at 4 o'clock. And the playoffs lost a major name today. Brooks Koepka is not going to be able to play. At 4:30, Rick Horrow on the Business of Sports. We may get into this thing that Kiffin has talked about with him, too. 5 o'clock, baseball with Thomas Harding. Not a good day for the Cubs. Good day for the Cardinals so far. First game of doubleheader, top of 5, and the Cardinals, who are down in the series 2-1. The Cardinals lead it 6-1, so the rubber match looks like will be the 5th game. How many times you say 5th game of series? 5th game of the series will be coming this afternoon. Don't forget these doubleheaders are 7-inning games. Thomas Harding on Major League Baseball at 5. TJ Reeves, kind enough to move to 5:30 for us today, and we'll talk a myriad of things, including the NFL and some NHL, because his Tampa Bay Lightning is still alive in their series. So it is over. Game 1 in the bubble, and the Raptors now have a 2-0 lead on the Brooklyn Nets. Jeremiah Martin, I love just saying that he's on the Nets, and he may be working his way into some sort of a contract with some NBA team before it's all said and done. The Raptors win by 5 today over the Nets, up 2-0, and we've got plenty of basketball still to follow. So that's the lineup for the day. It is time for Top and Not.
Top story of the day.
Well, that's the numbers in Shelby County and in the states around here and the United States and the worldwide dashboard. And the numbers are really getting better every day, it seems, for Memphis. Now, they're up slightly in terms of not just double digits today like yesterday. There's only 143 new cases. Unfortunately, 5 additional fatalities. So now we have a total of 21,581 cases in Memphis, 339 deaths. We had almost 2,000 tests yesterday. So that was up much more than the 600-something we had the day before. But today, the positivity rate was the lowest that I have seen in a long time, 7.6%. That was it. Hospital capacity, numbers, more beds available. Numbers getting better all the time in that regard. Not a great day over the state, however. Over 2,000 new cases. So 135,778. We've had 1,400 who have passed away. In Mississippi, again, more cases, 1,300 new cases. 74,455 total, and they have the worst of the death rates from the Memphis tri-state area. They have 2,163 fatalities. So that is quite a bit more than the state of Tennessee. Arkansas, 53,487 cases, 619 fatalities. Across the United States now, 5,673,000 cases, 175,000 who have passed away, 3 million recoveries. Now, by the way, we have 72 million people who have been tested. So we're well over 20% of the population has been tested so far. And the The dashboard from around the world, 22.5 million cases, 787,000 who have perished, 15 million recoveries, and we are still at 164 vaccines. Your top story?
My top story of the day, more frustration out of the Big Ten and their decision to cancel the fall 2020 football season. Today, Penn State head coach James Franklin came out and said that he has struggled to provide answers to his players and their parents regarding the reasoning or the timing for the postponement. He said he doesn't necessarily disagree with the decision that was made. The only issue he has is with the timing and the explanation of the decision, and I think that's everybody around the Big Ten, the players, parents, their biggest concern and question is why the timing of it, why so early, and why aren't you explaining if there was a vote, how the vote went, and all the details that went into making the decision. And that's the big frustrating part for everybody involved in the Big Ten.
Can I give you one more good top story that I just saw?
Yes, you can.
Breaking news from Twitter. Musa Cisse has qualified academically.
All right.
So he will, if we play, he will be in uniform for the University of Memphis.
Not top story of the day.
Well, that is listening to Keith Carter today, the athletic director for the University of Memphis, with Eli Savoy on the midday show. He was talking about 25% capacity of Vaught Hemingway Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess they have some sort of plan for tailgating. I know there will be no tailgating in Tiger Lane for the Tigers and Arkansas State. He said it would not look anything like it normally looks like. But here's what he said. They will lose $20 million from ticket revenue at this point at 25%. Philip Fulmer the day earlier said $30 million plus for the Vols at 25%. Now, I would like to know how they get 25%.
Mm-hmm.
If they're under the same guidelines, because part of the Shelby County Health Department criteria has been developed by Dr. John McCullers.
Mm-hmm.
And John is, I believe he's number one at Le Bonheur, but he's the number two guy for the UT Health Science, the medical school here. So if that's part of the University of Tennessee, so how is there going to be 12 feet spacing here, which limits you to, what is it? You're going to get 40, let's say 5,000 out of 60,000. That's not 25%.
No, not even close.
How in the world would they get 25% in the same state in Knoxville when they have their number two guy in their medical school is making the call here? That makes no sense to me. But at 25%, they would lose $30 million. Hey, that is some real cash we're talking about.
Oh, it is. And, maybe it's like we've seen throughout this whole pandemic, it goes down to not only the state, the federal guidelines. It goes to state, goes to county, goes to even as low as your local town and city's guidelines for how they want to go about social distancing, and whether that's 6 feet or 12 feet. Obviously, like you said, Shelby County going with 12. But, down in Oxford, I'm guessing they haven't had as many cases as we have had here in Shelby County, so I think they're probably going to go with the 6-foot recommended social distancing down there. My not top story of the day, Brooks Koepka's knee injury that has been discussed over the last month apparently is real, as he has pulled out of the Northern Trust at TPC Boston, ending his chances in the FedEx Cup playoffs, and his status is unknown for next month's U.S. Open, and right now not looking to be good for him to be competing in that one either.
Man, he was competitive, obviously, in the FedEx, the WGC here, right?
Yeah.
He didn't show any signs of really being injured. And, heck, he had a chance to win the tournament.
And played pretty well at the PGA up until Sunday, the week after.
Except for that one round, the final round at the PGA at Harding Park. And, you saw them try to stretch him out. We don't know if it was his hip, or if he was saying it was his hip, or his knees, and he said he couldn't get to his front side comfortably. But for him to, right in the middle of when it gets really lucrative, to take off from that, there is a problem. And He could miss one major. You would hope he would be ready by November.
Oh, you
for
would
the
hope
Masters,
he'd be ready by
even
then.
if it's a scope. But I think he may need surgery on that knee, which would maybe take him out of that. Maybe he needs to wait until next April for that Augusta National major, that Masters. We'll have to wait and see on Brooks Koepka. Those are your top and your not top stories. We are sitting here in the Family Leisure Studios, and a reminder for you, summer's coming to an end. A bunch of different things. You can beat the heat right now with an indoor game table. Maybe you like ping pong. Maybe you like foosball. Maybe you really love air hockey. They've got all those games, and they're all state-of-the-art. Or maybe you're looking for a pool table like a Slate pool table, the best in the business at Family Leisure. Now, you may be thinking about a swimming pool because they're hard to find right now. They're still hard to find at Family Leisure, but they always try to make it better for you. So here's what they're saying. End of the summer, we can give you a 2021 pool next spring. First in line for installation, we'll give you the 2020 price. That's fair to me. Also, the pool toys and floats, because we're coming to the end of the year, 30% off. Same thing on patio furniture, 20 to 30% off. And play gyms, which they were out of, are back in stock. All you got to do is get to I-40 and Wooden Road. See my friends. Go see Billy and Lindsay and all the gang at Family Leisure. We take the break. When we come back to Big Cheese, the head honcho of the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, Steve Earhart, will join us on what he thinks is going to happen this fall with the Bulls. And we'll get his take on what Lane Kiffin had to say. That is coming your way next.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ. Listen to us daily on AM 560, 96.1 FM, or 87.7 FM.
This hour of our show brought to you every day by Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Call them at 901-362-8833. Lexus of Memphis, offering the Golden Opportunity August sales event. Great offers on all 2020 models and special lease options. If you've ever thought I'd look great in a Lexus, well, guess what? Lexus of Memphis thinks you would look great in a Lexus, too. Drive in luxury and confidence, knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Stop by today at Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of an all-new 2020 flagship LS500, and you'll be looking and driving in style. Lexus of Memphis, the highest standards in the industry, and they are the one and only Lexus dealership in Memphis. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and that makes for the luxury driving experience. 901-362-8833, online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Chris Price here for Brian Elder Roofing. The storms we've had over the past several months have been devastating to our communities. The rainy season is ahead. You may have not even noticed the dripping in your attic, water stains throughout your home, or even worse, mold and mildew. Please call Brian Elder Roofing and we will send out our project managers to assess any damage. We will not try to sell you a roof if all you need is a repair. We will measure your roof from outer space. 0% for 60 months, even no payments till 2022 are available with approved credit. If you've noticed missing shingles, water stains, leaks in your roof, call us before you call your insurance company at 867-0303. That's 867-0303, and we will provide a free, thorough inspection of your roof's condition.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Let's go with Go-Go Squeeze. We're going, growing, standing tall, climbing, laughing, hide and seeking, giving our all.
Our kids' days are filled with adventure, and Go-Go Squeeze is there for every run, jump, step of the way. Made from wholesome ingredients like 100% fruit and veggies, real yogurt, and no artificial anything. In Go Anywhere pouches, so our kids can keep going wherever their adventures take them. Go-Go Squeeze. You make the memories, we'll make the snacks. Find us in the applesauce aisle.
Let's go.
Looking for a great place to deposit your money? Try First Bank. Competitive CD rates, a money market that moves with Wall Street prime and interest-bearing checking account options. Not to mention their friendly bankers who make decisions locally. To find out more, stop by one of First Bank's 3 local branches. 6482 Poplar Avenue, just east of International Paper. 8398 Highway 64 across from Wolf Chase. And 6280 Highway 64 in Oakland. or visit firstbankonline.com. Member FDIC.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Once again, Brett off. Drew Barrett's filling in. Already busy day in the world of sports. They are in the sixth at Wrigley Field, and the Cardinals in control over the Cubs 6-1. That is the first of a doubleheader, so there's only one more inning in that game. St. Louis looks like they have that one pretty well in control. The nightcap will come a little bit later in the day. We've already got one in the books in the NBA. The Toronto Raptors up 2-0 now on the Brooklyn Nets after they win 104-99, and they are about 10 minutes into the first quarter in the bubble between Utah and Denver, and the Jazz lead the Nuggets 20-18. Boy, there's tough news on Will Barton. He has left the bubble, so he's given up on trying to play anymore this year. He's going to look for a second opinion on his injured knee. We hope he finds somebody who can get that thing ready so that he is ready to go next year. In the meantime, every day is a new day when it comes to college football. What the heck is going to happen? As I said yesterday, I think with a great deal of sincerity, the University of Memphis thinks they're going to play on September the 5th with the release of the SEC schedule yesterday. I think it is very clear their intention. They are sincere. They think they will start at September the 26th. The guy that is hoping that those intentions all come true is Steve Earhart, the big cheese, the head honcho of the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. Steve, I know you make about a zillion calls every day around to the college football playoff committee, to commissioners. Give me your sense, your comfortability that you think between the AAC, the ACC, the SEC, the Big 12, that we will have college football from those conferences this year.
Well, you're absolutely right, David. Every week it ebbs and flows one way or the other. And 2 weeks ago, I guess it was on that Friday night when the Pac-12 started bailing out there, and I thought, oh, the dominoes are going to fall. And then when they jumped out ahead, the Big Ten wanted to be first, saying that they're canceling, and then the Pac-12, of course, they go in lockstep, those two conferences. But then when the ACC and the SEC were signaling they're ready to go, and then the Big 12 had the heart doctor talk to them about, hey, this myocarditis, if I'm pronouncing it right, is something that they know about. They feel they can mitigate the risks of that potential, complication, I guess, in a limited number of situations that they felt that they could go ahead and continue to forge forward. So the three of them are absolutely going forward, and then there's the three of the group of five. Of course, it affects us here in Memphis, the AAC, the American Athletic, which Memphis is part of, and the Sun Belt and the Conference USA. So there's 6 leagues going forward, including Notre Dame and BYU, some of the independents there. So I'm feeling this week pretty confident that they're going to continue to play through it, and they have risk assessments in place there. I mean, they're not going to stop every single infection, but I think they feel comfortable enough that there is not significant risk in a long term to any of the young people playing, that they're going to move forward. So today I'm pretty bullish. I think you can take the words of think and hope out and replace them with commitments to going forward. And 2 things I think have happened this week that show good positive traction is that when Oklahoma, with their young coach Lincoln Riley, when their season got, I guess, delayed there a couple of weeks, he sent the players home, and so of course they came back, and there were several positive infections. So, but they didn't panic. They said, okay, we'll quarantine them, but we're not closing everything off, and they learned to handle that. And at North Carolina, when they had some students come back to campus and test positive, they didn't just panic and say, okay, then the football team's got to go home as well. I think they figured out, and Mac Brown said it best, hey, these players are a lot safer here, and now we're kind of creating our own little mini bubble atmosphere with keeping the players safe. So with the developments of North Carolina and Oklahoma, nobody's panicking. I think they're moving forward, and I feel a lot more confident that everything's going to go forward. In 2 weeks from Saturday, when Memphis hits the field against Arkansas State, we're on our way to a decent season.
So your bowl game, the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, has connections with the SEC and the Big 12. Both those conferences are going to play. What about conferences that are tied in with Pac-12 and Big 10 schools? What happens to those particular bowl games?
Well, we've had some conference calls with those bowl games. There's at least 4 bowls that have lost both sides of their contracts. For example, the new bowl in Los Angeles, it was going to play in that magnificent palace out there where the Rams and the Chargers are playing. They had Pac-12 versus Mountain West. I don't think they'll end up playing this year because the substitutes they could bring in are going to be, too far-fetched there and nobody out in that part of the woods. But like an Outback Bowl or a Nashville Bowl that only lost one part of their bowl game. And the Outback, for example, in Tampa, they have SEC on one side, who SEC is certainly ready to play there. And on the other side, they have the Big Ten. But I think the ACC is already reaching out and saying, okay, we'll put a team in there. We'll take that slot there. And I think the American Athletic Conference, this is an opportunity for the American Athletic and for University of Memphis to really gain some traction, not only in grabbing some bowl slots, but in also grabbing some good television openings during filling in the gaps where the Big Ten and the Pac-12 opened up. But yeah, there'll be some bowl games that I think that, especially the ones that lost both sides, and then will there be enough available teams to fill the slots? Right now, there's more bowl slots than there are teams still playing football. I think there's 76 teams between those 6 conferences, the independents playing, and there's 82 bowl slots, and there's only one bowl that is checked out for the year. That's the San Francisco Bowl. So there's going to be some contraction of the bowl system, no question.
Filling the bowls that are going to go ahead forward, could we see a lot of, especially if a team only plays 10 games, could we see teams that only win 4 or 5 make it to postseason and into bowl games this year?
Yeah, we had a conference with the ESPN folks and with some of the other bowls, and I think especially with the whittled down schedules, I think the issue of how many games you win is not going to matter. I think it'll be an opportunity for the players, and that's what I think some people forget now, those parents and the players in the Big Ten, the Pac-12, it's really hit them between the eyes. But, this is an opportunity for these guys to play that last game, especially the seniors that play a team from another conference, and to have a reward for the season, and it's an opportunity for the student athletes. So I think that there'll be a relaxation of these rules of, are you bowl eligible? And, for example, the SEC has contracts with X number of bowl games. They'll fill those contracts regardless if a team is 4-6 or 5-5 or even 3-7. So I'm not sure that the records are as important as it is of a university and its players having a chance to play that last game.
So you think, seriously, if a Vanderbilt team playing against SEC competition wins 2 games, okay, and we win a couple at home, and they're 2-8, because the SEC is still the prized conference for these bowl games, although I don't know how Vandy really travels for bowl games, but I'm assuming they do okay. They're going to get in with 2 wins?
I think that's very, very likely, David. And,
wow.
And remember, I would just debate that issue when you said travel. Travel isn't going to be an issue this year with bowl games because we've already seen how attendance is going to be, limited, and it's limited all over the country, various health departments, various locations. So the issue of whether a team travels is not the issue. It's an opportunity for those, for example, since you use Vanderbilt, for the Vanderbilt team to have that opportunity to play that additional game there. Remember, their seasons are already cut down from 12 games to 10 games in the SEC, and just like the University of Memphis, they've only got 10 games lined up. So, 2 years ago they played 14 games, right? They played the 12 regular season game, or just last year they played 14 games. They played 12, and they played the championship game, then they played in the Cotton Bowl. So right now they've only got 10 games slotted. Now if they win the title or play for the title and then have an opportunity to play in a bowl game, they're only playing 12 games. So I could very well see, let's say, an Ole Miss who hasn't been able to make it into a bowl game in many years. We haven't had them since, 1992, 28 years. Archie Manning keeps telling me you got to get him back to the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. So if Ole Miss would be 4-6 playing against 10 very formidable opponents, we'd love to have them there, because it's the issue. It's having the university, and since fans is not the big issue of how well does somebody travel, it's an opportunity for their student athletes and their university to get the exposure and have one more game.
Oh man, I get it, but I'm stunned that a 2-win team could go. But I guess that's where we're at. Now you mentioned crowds. This is a tough question for you, Mr. E, but I got to ask you. If you have to follow the same guidelines that the University of Memphis is following, and if your bowl game were in 2 weeks, you would. But hopefully it becomes more relaxed, and you can get, say, 50% in there. But at this point, the U of M is talking about a crowd of only, because of the 12-foot spacing rule, we're talking about 4,500. Will the AutoZone Liberty Bowl game go on with a crowd of 4,500 people?
David, we've made a commitment to play the AutoZone Liberty Bowl 62 straight years. It's such an important, part of our community. It's kind of a touchstone for the city of Memphis and our community, and a beacon of liberty and freedom, and St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. So we'll follow whatever health guidelines, safety guidelines, protocol guidelines. But we're planning on playing. We got a full staff here working hard, getting ready. We've got dedicated partners here, our title sponsor, AutoZone, and our presenting sponsors, FedEx and Bass Pro and Pennzoil. We had a meeting today with First Horizon, one of our partners, strong partners committee. They're committed to it. So it's more important than just having X number of fans in the stadium. And viewership should be good, and I think it's the institution that's going to draw attention. And people say, well, maybe there'll be more people watching on TV. So we'll adjust to what dictates the market, but just look like, even like you say, in September, you've got the mayor of Nashville said no fans at all over at the Titans game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And so then you got the people at the University of Tennessee saying, well, we're going to have 25,000 people in our game. And then you get the University of Memphis with 4,500. So a lot of things don't make a lot of sense right now, especially in our state of Tennessee. But we're going to be there. We're going to be strong, and we're going to play no matter what the situation is. And we're working with the stadium, with the health department, about having a very safe environment to mitigate the risks to anybody that wants to come to the game. We'll have to follow the guidelines, obviously, but we're geared up and ready to play.
In just trying to figure out the economics of something like this, I know you generate revenue from sponsors, and you've just listed off a bunch that are sticking by you no matter what. So that's bravo to them. That is really terrific. The other partner in all this is ESPN. If you got, let's say, great ratings because there's nobody in the ballpark, would they come up in revenue to economically help you out, or is this just going to be, going in? You're going to get your revenue stream from television. You're going to get your revenue stream from sponsors, but you're just going to get killed financially this year.
Well, but we're willing to take whatever risks we have to take financially. Not we're going to make sure we have a safe environment for participants and the fans and so on. And the Liberty Bowl Stadium folks have really done a good job of working about the proper distancing and the safety and masking and disinfecting and that kind of thing. So we're going to be very safe there. But we'll take the shot economically because it's so important in the big picture, and we've been strong for 62 years. We're just going to have to handle this as maybe we're injured here, but we're going to have to play through the injury, and that's the attitude we have. And again, I hope people here in Memphis, we have an awful lot of very loyal members of our AutoZone Liberty Bowl Festival Association, and people like yourselves are going to support something that's important to the city. I mean, the golf tournament a couple of weeks ago, they got through and had a great opportunity for Memphis to be shined to the rest of the world, and we want to do the same thing here. We may take a couple of sprained ankles here in the way, but we want to be there and be strong.
Yeah, Steve, earlier you brought up the Las Vegas Bowl that obviously probably will not happen this year. Do you think that the amount of bowl games that we have right now is going to be pretty much set for the next 5-10 years due to kind of the economic hit that college football has taken, and that we're going to basically stop adding so many games?
Well, first of all, it's the Los Angeles Bowl I mentioned. I think the Las Vegas Bowl will probably go ahead because it's got the
fault.
SEC in it, but it may not. But, I mean, location is obviously important, and, they're the Las Vegas Bowl has been around for some time. They're just moving into that beautiful new palace out there, but the Los Angeles Bowl would be totally new. But, yes, I think there'll be a contraction. And, as I say, we were on the phone yesterday with some of the other bowls and with ESPN, and ESPN owns outright 17 of the bowl games. That's one reason there's been such an explosion of the number of games, because ESPN, it's great programming. Bowl week is there, that's a 3-week period of time now. It used to be 1 week, but bowl weeks is their highest rated programming of the year. And so, but I think there'll be some contraction, and I think you're right. Probably there were 3 new bowl games scheduled to come on board this year, one of them being the Los Angeles Bowl, and then you had the Fenway Park Bowl. That now they've got both their conferences are still locked in. That's the American, the AAC, and the ACC. So, they're playing in Fenway Park. When I think that's a joint deal between ESPN and the Boston Red Sox group, or maybe I'm not certain exactly the legal structure there. But will they still come out and play? Now the Myrtle Beach Bowl, they're an American. That's a new bowl game there. It's an American and a combination of the Conference USA and the Sun Belt. So, they probably looks like they'll go ahead and kick it off. But then, like the second bowl game in Arizona, they've lost both the MAC and the Mountain West, so I doubt they can make it. The bowl game up in Detroit that's done pretty well over the years. That's got the Big Ten and the MAC.
Motor City Bowl that Memphis played
Motor
in.
City. Yeah,
last game of D'Angelo Williams. So. And that's no longer a part of the connection with the American. But I'm wondering if you're going to get more teams in, win a game, you may get to go to a bowl. Would that mean that the American could try to lobby, let's say, to go to the Belk Bowl, which pays a lot more money than the Birmingham Bowl or the Shreveport Bowl or the one in Mobile? Because it just does. It's connected with the ACC and the Big 12, but the Big 12's not playing, or it's the SEC and the Big 12, one of the two. Anyway, would there be opportunities, you think, for the American to go after other bowl games?
I think you hit it right on the head, Dave. I think this is a great opportunity for the American, and I think they're playing it very smart. I mean, I know Dr. Rudd at the University of Memphis is a leader there, along with Mike Oresco and Scott Draper. They've got some. They're playing it very smart. I think they're working on making sure they have all the safety protocols, but they're going to be in a position to take advantage of not only the bowl situation where they could maybe move into some more lucrative positions, but also during the regular season with some of these telecast opportunities there that were hogged by the Big Ten and the Pac-12, and certainly some openings there with the MAC and the Mountain West. So I think there'll be some great opportunity for the American to seize the moment, so to speak. And I think they're out right now looking around trying to figure out how to jump in there. I've given them a couple pointers there about a couple of openings that might work for them. So I think the American, could come out of this stronger.
I hope so. I hope so, and I hope we're kicking this thing off in a couple of weeks, 2.5 weeks.
I figure you're going to be up there in the booth, aren't you? There,
I am. If they play, I will be there. I promise that.
Now, we'll have to get your listeners to see if your voice is still as resonant through the mask, or whether you're going to be taking the mask off out there.
I can tell you I will wear a mask into that press box, but once that game starts, I will look away from Jarvis Greer, but I will definitely have to take that mask off. Always a pleasure to chat with you, my friend. I'm certain we will talk in the next few weeks again.
Thank you, guys.
All right. That is the Big Cheese, the head honcho of the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. That is Steve Earhart. We take a quick time out, back with a wrap of hour number 1 on this Wednesday on Sports Time on Sports 56.
R&R on Sports, Saturday mornings, 10 a.m., Sports 56, 87.7, and 96.1. Don't miss us.
Napa know-how. At Napa Auto Parts stores and Napa Auto Care centers, get a $25 prepaid Visa card when you get any Napa automotive battery. It's the best deal for some of the best batteries from some of the best car people around. But we might be a little partial. Anywho, pick up any Napa automotive battery and save $25. Do it yourself or have it done for you. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know-how.
At participating Napa Auto Parts stores and Napa Auto Care centers while supplies last. Offer ends 8/31/20.
If ever there was a time for comfort food, this is it. And there's no comfort food like Sunrise on Jefferson. Fresh-made breakfast featuring Sunrise's signature homemade square biscuits or the huge selection of hot, fresh, and fast lunch items are all part of what has always made Sunrise the most comforting of comfort foods in Memphis. Of course, everything that can be done to keep you and the staff safe at Sunrise is a top priority. And you can always order ahead and get delicious Sunrise to go. At a time this confusing, it's good to know there's one thing you can count on: Sunrise.
Ugh, my stomach.
Don't worry, I've got you covered.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
What's that? It's Pepto-Bismol Chews.
Pepto-Bismol's now in a chew?
Yeah, they taste great and provide fast relief. And now you can always have Pepto-Bismol handy.
Let me try it.
Try new Pepto-Bismol Chews for fast relief.
Nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
We like to party.
Welcome back in as we round out our first hour. Wolo and Drew Barrett with you. And this is a story that is just starting to break. The NFL will consider possibilities for a postseason bubble that would further protect players, coaches, and staff members from COVID during the most important games of the year. I guess New Orleans Saints coach Sean Payton broached the idea during a recent competition committee meeting. The league has made no commitments, but a spokesman said all things are on the table at the moment. Hey, that makes great sense to me. I think baseball should do that for sure, but you've got a 16-game season before you go to play football in a bubble for the playoffs. How are you going to get those first 4 months in?
And how many bubbles are you going to have? I mean, realistically, there's not a lot of actually, I think off the top of my head, there's not a single city in America that has 2 NFL stadiums in it. You know, obviously with baseball, it's easy to do kind of the 3 bubble system with the West, Central, and East in New York, Chicago, and L.A. But with football, I just don't know where you have the facilities to do a bubble at.
Well, you could probably if you decided to use baseball stadiums as part of your mix.
I mean, I guess you could.
You've got in Houston, you got 2 domes. You
could use the Bay Area.
In Dallas, you've got 2 domes. They're baseball stadiums now. In the Bay Area, well, you could use college football stadiums.
Use the Coliseum and Levi Stadium for Oakland and San Francisco. Even though the Raiders aren't playing in Oakland, they could still use the Coliseum though.
Well, the Coliseum's in L.A.
Are the Oakland? Where do the Raiders play?
The Raiders play in the same stadium as the baseball team, and it's terrible. So you wouldn't put anybody there. The San Francisco 49ers
play in Levi Stadium,
which is 60 miles away.
That's true. That's not really a bubble.
If you wanted to use that, you could use outdoor stadiums. You still got San Jose is not that far away either.
No,
where San Jose State is. Los Angeles, you could use the new football stadium, the L.A. Coliseum that you were talking
use
about.
The Rose Bowl.
You could use the Rose Bowl. You could use Dodger Stadium. You could use the Angels ballpark in Anaheim. There's a lot of different places you could go. In Chicago, you could use Wrigley Field, the White Sox ballpark, Soldier Field, but all those are outside. I don't think you'd want to do that in the middle of winter. Places with domes. Houston would be a great place. So would Dallas because they're both inside stadiums.
Yeah, that could work. I mean, I think L.A. would probably be the best area right now. But obviously, I don't know if you want to put your bubble in a hot spot. Although
if you're doing
it's worked for
bubbles
NBA,
you got to have hotel rooms.
That's true. And L.A.'s got plenty of hotels.
Yeah. Vegas could be a place. Their new stadium, the one the UNLV uses, because there's plenty of hotels there. I have no idea how they will end up using it. I suspect this is one of those things that you plan and you plan and you plan that you're never going to use, but just in case, you got something as a backup. That's an hour in the books. When we come back, it's time to talk golf. We'll make some golf picks. John Goen, the head professional at, the owner of Timber Trust, he will join us. Have we got picks from Brett Norsworthy?
I do have Brett's picks.
He gets to go first?
He does.
Okay. I was thinking that he did.
Don't worry, you get to go second.
Oh, I go second this time?
Let me double check.
Oh, wow.
Or you go third. No, you actually go third. It goes Brett, John, Dave, then me.
Yeah, I thought so. We're back in just a minute. Golf is on the docket next on Sports Time on Sports 56.
Is your wife asking you to stop eating junk food? Well, we have you covered at Humdinger's. It's quick and it's healthy, and most important, it tastes amazing. With many choices from salmon salad to rainbow trout and grilled asparagus. Come visit us for lunch at Humdinger's, 6300 Poplar Avenue. So good, Coach Penny eats with us weekly. Don't forget, Humdinger's offers full-service catering for weddings, social events, or your corporate lunches. You can call 901-260-8292 to find out more.
I'm here with outstanding team from Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway. They're online at lexusofmemphis.com. Gary, tell everyone how they can experience the Lexus of Memphis satisfaction.
Come in and be a part of our family at Lexus of Memphis. Experience the customer service that we provide to each guest like a member of our own family. If you're on the side of the road and you need us, we're there. If you need help with anything with your car, technology, Bluetooth, the app suite, we have dedicated team to help you with this in your journey with your Lexus.
That's how they do it at Lexus of Memphis.
Are you drowning in IRS tax debt? Get ready for a toll-free hotline. Take advantage of new IRS tax forgiveness programs. Call Civic Tax Relief for free information now. Find out about the Fresh Start program that is now available through Civic Tax Relief. Civic Tax Relief's special tax hotline can help you discover all the relief programs you qualify for free. Just call 800-841-0908. 800-841-0908. 800-841-0908.
We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Welcome in, hour number 2 on this Wednesday, Hump Day. Glad you're with us on what is a very, very pleasant August day. Hard to believe it is in the middle of August with the temperatures that we have had. We have had a good day in terms of numbers when it comes to COVID. We've got plenty of sports going on at the moment. In fact, in baseball, the Cardinals just killing the Cubs. 9-1, bottom of the 6th. Cubs getting murdered by St. Louis. They'll play a second game. After this one, don't forget now, the doubleheaders are 7-inning games. And in the bubble in Orlando, Toronto a winner in Game 1. So they have a 2-0 lead on Brooklyn. They're 104-99 winners. They are tied with about 5.5 to go in the second quarter between Denver and Utah, a series that should be very, very close, I think, throughout the whole thing. In the meantime, the playoffs begin for golf, and we head south to Timber Trust, and the owner of that wonderful golf course is John Goen, who joins us now. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great, Dave. How are you doing?
I'm hanging in there. It is crazy, all the uncertainty, with one exception. There is no uncertainty in golf. Everybody in golf seems to be prospering, from everybody I talk to in the business.
It's continuing to be quite beneficial for the entire golf industry as we continue to kind of deal with all the uncertainty that continues to kind of go on. We now, of course, we're into high school golf match season and everything else. So we just continue to see plenty of folks and just happy to welcome them down here and get to see everything that we've got going on, and just all the changes and all the improvements and conditions and everything that's kind of going on down here at Timber Trust. So it's been great. And then, of course, today I keep telling everybody as they're coming in off the golf course that everybody stole one today. I mean, 77 degrees on August the 19th. I don't think anybody saw that one coming.
No. And it's really beautiful weather for a first time ever. I got a call from Dan Schinneberger earlier, and I know guys like Eddie McDougal and Ford Canale have been involved in this. There is a senior state event. It's never been held in Memphis. It is taking place at Chickasaw, the Super Seniors. What is that over 65? How do you become a Super Senior? Do you know, John?
The TGA obviously kind of sets that. But I'm not real sure what their classification is. I believe it generally has been in that 65, and older range. Yes.
So the Super Seniors, their brackets have been set up. The seniors are still going at it right now. They got perfect weather over at Chickasaw. The best older players in the state, and there are some really good ones. Like you think about Buzz Fly and. I don't want to skip anybody.
Tim Jackson.
Yeah.
You got quite. Yeah. You got. I mean, Kirk Bailey's probably somewhere in that group. If he's playing, I'm assuming since it's on this side of the state, which is a rare occurrence, that guys like Kirk Bailey are playing as well. So it's there's quite a group of older good players.
And this is the first time the state finals have been in West Tennessee. So it was a real plum for Chickasaw, which has been renovated over the last couple of years, a big plum for them.
Well, I think that was the big draw there is that Chickasaw went through that just major renovation of that property, and I think it allowed them to be able to lure an event like that. I know that the Tennessee Golf Association always likes to play at these prestigious golf courses, these older prestigious golf courses, Memphis Country Club and Chickasaw and Holston Hills and, obviously, Bellmead and places like that up in Nashville. They really like to draw to those for these, kind of prestigious amateur events that, get conducted throughout the course of the state.
We talked about this on Monday a little bit, but would you have known prior to the finish of the last regular season event that Jim Herman had won 2 different PGA tournament events and that now he's got 3?
I don't think that I would. It's funny when I didn't recognize the name, but then when I saw his face Monday, the face looked familiar, but I wouldn't have tied it to 2 previous victories, and of course that being his 3rd. But we've talked about this for some time. I mean, I think the way that the schedule now sets up for the tour, you tee yourself up in these. You don't want to call them, the minor events like the Wyndham, but it is generally that breather after a major, the last event. The playoffs are pretty much kind of locked in as far as the majority of the guys that are going to be in the playoffs. I mean, obviously there's some that are still fighting for their position to be able to get in. And so, the Wyndham and then, of course, the early starts to the season in September and October, really lead to these guys that aren't household names having the opportunity to be able to go out and win a golf tournament and obviously make a rather large amount of money and secure a bit of freedom for them for the next couple of years with their exemptions for winning an event. So I don't see that changing anytime soon with the way that things will continue to shake out. And so I think we're just going to, this is going to kind of be where we're at under the new wraparound year. And we'll continue to kind of get these stretches of players winning events that you just, aren't overly familiar with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. From going from a guy like Jim Herman, who honestly, John, if you'd come up to me and asked me last Wednesday who Jim Herman was, I'd have to Google him because I would have had no idea he was even a player on the PGA Tour. But the biggest news from the tour today is Brooks Koepka. Obviously, we've been talking about that knee problem that he's been having for a month. Seems like it was almost non-existent. I mean, the way he had been playing. But do you think that Brooks being out, how long do you think that injury is going to bother him? Do you think he's going to make it back for the U.S. Open next month?
I didn't see the exact procedure as to what he's needing to have done to his knee.
I don't think they've told us yet.
So, I mean, you would tend to think, Tiger's clearly, if it's just scoping some stuff out and cleaning some things up, some loose debris and stuff around the knee, then I think that he could be back by the U.S. Open without any issue. I mean, he's got, the 14th through the 20th, so we've got almost a full entire month. And, with potentially an arthroscopic type procedure, if it is fairly minimal, just kind of cleaning some stuff up, I think he could bounce back from that rather quickly. I mean, if it is going to be a bit more major, then I don't think you would probably then see him until, Augusta in November, because, after the U.S. Open, there's really not going to be much need to play in an event until Augusta in November. So, but it's just going to be a matter of what the extent of the procedure is. But I think if it's a minor surgery, then I think he could bounce back by U.S. Open time, most definitely.
Not to be the half-empty guy here, because I want Brooks Koepka to compete. I think he's important to golf. But here's a guy that was taking stem cell treatments because he was having issues. And he apparently had a slight tear, and I don't know if it was an ACL, MCL, PCL. I really don't know what tendon it was, but he had an issue that he said probably needed surgery, but wasn't torn enough for them at that particular point to do the surgery, or he thought he could get through the pain and get through this year before he would take off some real time. So if this is real surgery, not a scope, which I'm afraid it's going to be, I wonder if he'll be I would say he's out for the U.S. Open. I doubt he'll be available for this Augusta. He might be available for April Augusta.
Yeah, I mean, clearly, again, if it gets into a much larger, procedure, if it's a full-on tear or something, I mean, we're very familiar with that. Football, basketball, baseball, other things where you can have these major tears of these ACL, MCL, PCLs. And clearly he's going to be out for some time. I mean, I would be willing to bet if it's that major and it's going to be that expensive, you may not see him until the Open Championship next July. I mean, it's going to be almost a full year with the amount of torque and pressure that knee is going to be under. He's going to have to go through some pretty extensive physical therapy. He's going to have to re-strengthen. And he'll clearly be able to chip and putt, but I mean, as far as full-on 100% full rip golf swings, I mean, it's going to be quite some time if that's the direction that this surgery is going to wind up going for him.
So we now start these playoffs, and it may be only me. You guys tell me, but it just doesn't seem like it's the way it's always been. Part of that is since the restart, we have had unbelievable fields every week, except maybe two since the restart. Last week was one, and the Barracuda when it was up against the WGC. Otherwise, every week you get star-studded 30 of the top 50 guys. And so it just seems like, okay, here's another one. Last week wasn't, although there were some really good players who were trying to get into the mix. Do you feel that way, John?
Well, Minneapolis, I think, was in there too. That field in Minneapolis wasn't anything to write home about. I think Detroit was average at best. I mean, Fowler and some of those guys were in the Detroit event. But, I mean, it definitely feels different just from the standpoint of we took 3 months off, right? And then we still know that we didn't have an Open Championship. We have yet to really have a U.S. Open. We have yet to have, the Masters. And so it does, it clearly feels different just because you're at the end of your season. Plus, let's face it, we're all at this point usually ramping up, really thinking strongly about college football. We would just be a few weeks away from Labor Day weekend and all those big football games that we played. And now, there is some attention there, but not near the attention of what we would normally have. So, it's going to feel different, for those reasons. And, again, we don't have the distraction of college football. So, real short window. You're missed out on 3 majors to this point. And so, it definitely falls within the window, but taking the 3 months off, it does feel like it's just a little odd for it to be happening right now.
It definitely feels different for me because, like John just said, we finally got it back, and we're almost like it's more like we're sitting here in a regular June type of June, maybe early July type of situation where we're finally getting in the middle, the full swing of things, and then now we're 3-4 weeks away from basically it being over for the year. So it does feel weird. But this week, obviously, the Northern Trust at TPC Boston. What kind of course is TPC Boston, and what kind of player do you think it best suits?
So, TPC Boston is a Palmer Arnold.
I'm afraid we might have lost John. You might
Are
want
you
to.
there?
Yeah, you there, John?
Yep.
Okay,
Is that better?
we had lost you momentarily.
Didn't move, but I'm must be the room.
Do not go anywhere.
Don't
Stay
move.
in that exact spot. Get on your tiptoes. You were saying to us when we lost you that it is an Arnold Palmer design course.
Yeah, so originally players weren't real big fans of the golf course, so the tour came in just similar to what has happened at Southwind. Not that the players didn't like TPC Southwind, but went in and spent a substantial amount of money redoing that golf course on an annual basis, and really kind of got the course set up to where the players really truly enjoy it. I think that was a golf course that they were probably a bit disappointed it fell out of the rotation now that it's kind of this every other year between New York and Boston. But, overall, great finishing hole, kind of that risk-reward par 5 finishing hole. So, guys can make eagles and you can kind of see some fireworks there toward the end, which I know everybody's excited about for something coming down the stretch for folks to be able to have an opportunity to be able to win a golf tournament. As far as the type of player, I think it's been a bit all over the place. It's not suited for maybe one particular type of player. I think, Justin Rose and some others have had some success there over the years. I think Mickelson has maybe had a little bit of success up there as well, to my recollection. But, I think it suits up or kind of sets up well for a lot of the players in this field, and so I think it's pretty wide open as far as who's got a chance to win this event this week.
Have they got one of those par 4 you can drive with risk, which seems to be the thing everybody wants now?
I don't believe that they do off the top of my head.
Okay.
I know they've got a pretty good par 3 kind of coming down the stretch, but then really 18 is that hole. If you put it in play off the tee on 18. You definitely have a green light to be able to get at,
I hope he's still there with us. Maybe
very, very similar to Augusta. You want to make sure you kind of hit the right, tier and stuff like that to give yourself
on your
chances.
green. Yeah. If the season is not over, but the regular season is. So we prematurely will pick who you think is the best player of the year, who you would give best player of the year, because in my mind there was one clear winner, and who is the GOAT, not the greatest, the bum of the year, and there's 2 candidates that I would have for that. John, who would be your player of the year so far?
Boy, that's kind of a tough one. I guess you would have to look at I guess you'd have to look at Justin Thomas. Has had a decent year and everything. Potentially with the major win and as well as he's been playing. If he continues this down the stretch, I would tend to think that Colin Morikawa could potentially be one of those guys that could turn into your player of the year.
That is my guy.
Especially if he continues to perform in majors.
Colin Morikawa is my guy.
Oh, easy. That's my guy, too.
He's up in earnings. He's won 3 times in about 26 events, 27 events. At his age, there's only 3 guys that have won 3 tournaments that early, and that's Jack, Tiger, and now Colin Morikawa, and he has his first major. So I would say he's player of the year. I could understand how you could go with Justin Thomas. Who's your GOAT of the year?
Wins here in Memphis.
Yeah.
Well, I would. Okay, if based off of previous week's conversations, I'm willing to bet one player on your list is Rory McIlroy.
That is correct.
He's mine too. I wrote him down as soon as he said "bum GOAT of the year." I had Rory right off the top of my head.
That was the first one because I just remember Dave week after week going, Rory has been such a disappointment. I'm like,
well,
that's going to be Dave.
That's
going to be one of Dave's right there.
Let me just say this.
You could throw Spieth in there too. He's
that's
been
my
terrible.
second guy.
Okay,
so we are on the same page. I don't. Jordan Spieth just had about an 18-month run where he was amazing, and since then he's been a below-average player. And as Ted Butler said on Monday, he just stopped making putts. He was really making everything he saw. I'm not sure he's ever been the greatest striker of the ball, but it's certainly. He's going to have one bad round every single week where he is in the mid-70s or above. And you can't win golf tournaments that way. For me, the reason I go Rory is because Rory built up expectations. Mm-hmm. Going into the pandemic, Rory was on a roll. I mean, if we hadn't stopped for COVID, I think Rory McIlroy would have won a couple majors this year. But that disruption just took everything away from him. And so I think he's the biggest bust. But you could throw Spieth right in there. Anybody else that you guys think about? Koepka's injury, but that's injury.
Dustin Johnson kind of maybe comes to mind.
He did win one, though.
Yeah, he did.
He did win a tournament.
And he kept his consecutive year streak going, which is, 13 years now? It's pretty amazing.
But, I mean, I don't know. I mean, he didn't play very well, in longer stretches. I mean, kind of made a bit of a showing here in Memphis for a bit, but didn't really. Well, I guess he kind of, rallied a little bit and led at the PGA. But I mean, again, kind of turned into Dustin Johnson of what you have expected of Dustin Johnson. Sitting in the catbird seat at a major and then figuring out a way to give it away.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, it's potentially a bit of a stretch. I mean, not that you had great expectations, but could Tiger Woods be a bit of a disappointment for the year?
I don't know if he's played enough. That's the problem.
I was just going to say.
There hasn't been a big enough sample size.
But that is disappointing. It's disappointing that he doesn't play, and he doesn't play because, let's be honest, he's not a healthy guy. I don't. We got this false hope because he came back. He won a WGC, right? And he was competing. He almost won a major, and then he finally did win a major. And then after he'd won the major, he came back and he played really well for a little bit, but he didn't hardly played. And then the season ended, and so we sort of, I guess, thought he was going to go back playing like he did at Augusta. And Randall Chambly pointed he was fortunate to win at Augusta. He did some things in that were totally, if you're looking at statistics, they were totally against normally the way he would play. So it might have just been a godsend that he won that. I don't know.
Well, you felt like he took 3 weeks off. Or 3 months off, I should say. You take 3 months off, and then he comes back and he plays in just a couple of events over this, over the last stretch of the year. I mean, it just you just felt like that. I mean, after taking 3 months, that you are going to probably be in fairly decent physical condition to be able to get out there and maybe play in a few more events. Potentially come here to Memphis. Much better weather than what you dealt with out at the PGA Championship for his back and for his body to be able to, stay loose, remain loose, and things along those lines. But, I mean, just the lack of play I think maybe that's the bigger disappointment. I mean, you do come off of Augusta last year. Clearly he ran himself out toward the end of the year, didn't play well, but took a huge stretch off there, early through what I guess you would now deem the middle part of the year, and was trying to kind of get ramped up before the tour got shut down, and then just didn't do much after the fact. So, I mean, I get the physical side of things, but I just think that I expected Tiger to maybe play a little bit more coming out of the break than what he really did.
Yeah, staying with Tiger and kind of building off of that, like you said, he just hasn't played enough this year. How likely do you think he's actually going to be able to pull off 4 out of 5 weeks to end the year here?
He's got to make.
I don't think he will.
He's got to do really well in order to stay in the playoffs. I'm with you, John.
But potentially, I mean, how can his back could take 4 out of 5 weeks?
It won't. I mean, regardless of where they're playing at. I mean, I was watching a bit of the thing today. I mean, it looked like it's a bit chilly, rainy up in Boston. I mean, so he could potentially make 2 weeks and kind of be done. And then, really kind of set his sights on the U.S. Open, the 14th through the 20th. But I don't see him going all the way to Atlanta.
I want to be wrong about this, but I don't think it's just a physical thing. I think he proved to his kids what he was all about when he won Augusta, and I'm not sure he has the hunger that he used to have. I think he's a satisfied guy now, and I'd like to see him at least get 83 so he breaks Sam Snead's record. I don't think there's any chance he'll break Nicklaus's record. We better make our picks before it is said and done for the Northern Trust and the beginning of the playoffs in Boston at that TPC. So what does Stats got?
All right, Brett is going for his lock pick. He's going to take Jason Day.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
I know, because 31 and above for the shock, and Jason Day's 32 right now.
How did he go with the number 34 player in the world?
He wanted to make sure he got him off the board.
Can I tell you why? I'll tell you exactly why. Because he goes to the expert picks like I do.
Mm-hmm.
And 4 of the 5 experts pick Jason Day. I am stunned by that pick, though. I really am, because I was going to take him. I thought for sure I'd get him there. All right, so John, who have you got? You're the second pick.
Well, I think I'll take JT. I'll take Justin Thomas.
Okay, you've got him. Then it's me. I'm going to take Xander Schauffele.
All right. He was on my list, but I still get my number one guy, and we just talked about him as being probably the MVP best of the year. I think Colin Morikawa keeps it rolling, so I'll take him for my number one pick.
Okay. Who's he got for a second?
For second pick, he's going to take Victor Hovland.
So I didn't realize. I thought we had no limitations on the second pick.
Nope, 31 and above.
Huh. Well, do you have the list in front of you by any chance? Because
I can pull it up real quick.
I do.
Pick it up.
I've got it.
Pick it
got
up.
Who's
Okay.
in the field? So I'm going to take. I'm going to take Chez Reavie, 38 in the world.
Okay. So I'm just going to ask. I know for sure that Webb Simpson is higher than 31. I know that John Rahm is higher than 31.
Yep.
Where's Patrick Reed right now?
Let's see.
Patrick Reed is
Patrick Reed's 9.
Where's Billy Horschel?
30.
He might have a chance.
He's 30.
He's 30.
One too high.
Is
30.
it 30 and above?
It's
or
31 and above.
31 and above, of course.
You can get Kevin Na at 31 if you'd like. Yeah, I don't know if he's in the tournament.
Where's Daniel Berger?
Daniel Berger is 18.
He's
No
18.
boy. Where's Gary Woodland?
Too high, 22.
Where's Siwoo Kim?
You can take him. I'm going to be mad if you take him, but you can take him. I believe he's at 86. He's at 86.
I go Siwoo Kim.
Oh, come on, Dave. I'm the president of his fan club.
Just to make
and
you
you're going to take him away from me.
I am.
Oh, goodness
I would have
gracious.
taken Billy Horschel if you let me take him at 30.
I don't make the rules, Dave. I just
Jim
follow
Herman's
them.
available for you, Drew.
No. I'm going to go with, and I shouldn't do this, but I just like the guy so much, and I want to root for him to win so badly. And let's be honest, I'm so far ahead at this point, I don't really need to worry about the money. I've got it all wrapped up.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take the 35th ranked player in the world. I'm going to go with Ricky. I'll go with Ricky Fowler.
Okay, there you go.
Because I want him to win so bad.
Everybody does. He's made the most out of nothing of any player in the history of mankind. John?
No, Matt Kuchar.
Yeah, man.
Wow. Very close.
But here's the difference. Matt Kuchar does not get the acclaim that Ricky Fowler does. I mean, Ricky's got more endorsements than any player I think out there. He's got more than Tiger now with companies.
Yeah.
He's got more than Phil.
I mean, he's the face of Rocket Mortgage.
What does he do? What has he won? He's one of players. Come on.
And Farmers Insurance.
Oh my God,
he's got that one
seriously,
too.
he's got like 5 or 6 of them, and 2 or 3 of them are really big, really big. He's something else, but people like him. That's the whole thing. John, we appreciate it. Tell me again,
Okay.
can I get a tea time this weekend at the Timber Trust?
Absolutely.
Or are you already full?
No, you can call us. We've got some good availability for the weekend. You can either visit us timbertrustgolf.com or call us at 662-895-3530. Come on down. Should be a great weekend. It's going to warm up a little bit, but still, golf course is in good shape, and we just kind of keep rocking and rolling here into the fall.
Thank you, John. We appreciate it. Have a great weekend, and we will see you next Wednesday.
Sounds great, guys. Take care. Have a good week. We'll talk to you next week.
That is our guy from Timber Trust. That is John Goen, and we have made our picks. This portion of the show, in fact, this hour, the program is presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai and Genesis of Olive Branch, where the new cars, the 2021s, have already begun to arrive. You will just marvel at the technology in these Hyundais and in these Genesis G cars. They are luxury, they are safe. In fact, Hyundai tied for the most number of top safety pick vehicles in 2020. And here's the great thing about Homer. Homer Skelton Hyundai, Genesis of Olive Branch, you get a 3-year, 36,000-mile maintenance package on every new Hyundai and every new Genesis. They just started this a little bit ago, and it is a whale of a deal. And, of course, you always get a limited powertrain warranty on every new car. And, in fact, Hyundai certified pre-owned vehicles, you can get up to a 100,000-mile powertrain warranty on those, too. Auto Trader named Hyundai the best non-luxury certified pre-owned program in the world. Then I think these guys, Chris True and all the crew, they set the standard for the way car business should be done. Go see for yourself. Get on Lamar. It's Highway 78 in Mississippi. The very first exit's Craft Road. Turn left, and you will have arrived. You'll love it at Homer Skelton Hyundai and Genesis of Olive Branch. Back in a minute, we'll head to Florida. Rick Horrow, our professor of business, and we set up the song for him that he really liked. Okay.
Yeah, we got it. We got it ready.
We got to have that set up for him. Professor Horrow is next.
Take Sports 56 with you on your phone or tablet. Download our official Sports 56 app today.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roof Services. You've heard me talk about how we offer the best products, the best warranties, and the best services for years. Now let's talk about pricing. Pricing should never be the only reason you hire a contractor, but in today's world, pricing is always a consideration. So we suggest you get 2 or 3 estimates for your roof replacement from a reputable, licensed, and insured company, and then give us a call. If we can't beat your best price for a comparable roof system by more than $100, we'll give you $100. It's that simple. We are so sure we can offer you the best price, beating all other qualified companies, we will hand you $100 if we can't, and thank you for the opportunity. So give us a call. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? Make $100? Fiveash Roof Services, a proud supporter of Tiger Athletics and the official roofer of the Tigers home team. Fiveash Roof Services, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Hi folks, it's Dominic Hoon, General Manager here at Sunrise on the Pike. I want to invite you to Sunrise Super Summer Sale going on right now. Deals are so hot, catch them before they're gone. Thinking about a new or used car, truck, and not sure where to go to get the most for your money? Come to Sunrise on the Pike. More than 500 Buicks and GMCs to choose from. The majority priced at employee pricing. Bad credit, bankruptcy, slow pay, that is okay. Here at Sunrise, we specialize in secondary financing, cars below $10,000. If you got a job, you're approved at Sunrise, the home of the guaranteed credit approval. See us online at sunriseonthepike.com or in person at 1800 Covering Pike.
Hi, this is Rob Brown. Join Pete Cordelli and me for Sidelines, Saturday mornings, 8 to 10 a.m. on Sports 56, 87.7, and 96.1 FM. We'll cover the Memphis Tigers, the SEC, recruiting. Hey, if they keep score, we're covering it. Check us out on the website at sports56whbq.com and sidelines.live. Sidelines is brought to you by Duncan Williams Asset Management. Saturday mornings, 8 to 10 a.m. Get up and give us a call.
Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Ocean and Brett Norsworthy.
Oh, yeah, when you hear that, you know our professor of business from Harvard and from the NBC family of stations, Rick Horrow, is up. How are you today?
Fair. I'm doing my bookend trip. This is my end of summer 6-hour-a-day drive, play a little golf up to Harvard to teach and to see my daughter, and then up to Maine, and then to Washington, and then to a couple of other places. But so I'm listening to the Cubs. They lose 9-1 in the first game of the Cardinals. I know you guys are Cardinal fans.
No. Most of them are.
No, neither one of us are.
Most of them
most
are.
People here.
I am from Chicago. I am a diehard Cub fan. I grew up about 6 blocks from Wrigley Field, so my heart is breaking. But, look, the Cubs took 2 of the first 3. So,
yeah, do you know what happened 51 years ago today?
51 years ago today, so we're talking, would that be 69? Of course I did. That's when they collapsed.
Well, yeah, but what happened today? Ken Holtzman. Ken Holtzman pitches a no-hitter.
Oh, today? Really?
Yes.
Ah.
So, if you're a big Cub fan, you know that kind of stuff. I, grew up in Miami, and I decided I wanted to go to Harvard Law because I'm just that kind of nerd. But where do I want to go undergrad and debate and play a little bit of baseball and stuff? So
Northwestern?
Yeah, and why? Well, because I thought the Cubs were going to be as good when they won the pennant in '69, and then they were going to win all the way through the '70s. Boy, was I wrong.
Well,
but that's all right.
That team was such a great ball club. It always pains me to think about the fact that they didn't get their due because that whole infield.
Santo, Kessinger, Becker,
and Banks. They were
Williams,
all stars,
right?
Yeah,
yeah. And Randy Hundley behind the plate. It was an amazing, amazing team that didn't win anything. So they were. Boy, did we hijack this agenda?
I know.
I'll talk quickly. Hey, but that's all right. They were 7.5 games up on August 19.
I know.
After Holtzman pitches a no-hitter.
I know.
And I'm thinking, all right, I'll apply. I'll sign my papers. And then look what happened.
You remember they had that theme song. It was "Hey Hey Holy Mackerel." No doubt about it. The Cubs are on their way. Ron Santo would click his heels after they'd win. It was.
I know.
I know. You're talking about a very painful childhood memory for me. So you have to bring this up.
But I didn't know you guys were Cubs fans in the middle of. Redbirds.
Oh, it's Cardinal territory here.
He's a Cubs fan. I'm actually even more random. I'm an Orioles fan growing up here in Memphis, Tennessee. So
that is, the Cal Ripken days and even before that. Although I'm going to think like the Jim Palmer days. Judging by, I don't even want to know the age. I suspect the Jim Palmer days, the Andy Etchebarren days, the Jim McNally days. You don't even remember them.
No, definitely way before my time, Rick. I'm 25.
There you go.
So
good. You're 25?
Yes.
Oh my God, I gotta go. I don't talk to people under 30.
Well, Rick,
I'm sorry.
You and I are more the same age, so.
Yeah, I understand, but I just business-wise, I don't talk to anybody under 30. So.
I'm sorry.
Well, you teach them all the time. Come on.
Yeah, but that's because they pay me. You pay me nothing. That's all right. All right, what do you want to know? Hey, I have another question for you. I know this is hijacking again. But
sure.
Does the AAC, what's the crowd, non-crowd, Oresco, are people excited in Memphis because you're going to have the spotlight when you do play because, 3 of the Power 5 decide to play in the fall and 2 maybe in the spring. But I'm thinking the Cincinnatis and the Memphises of the world will get kind of a better look now because of that. Is there any talk of that?
Well, sure there is. I mean, if you just take this week and you go to the new CBS Top 25, they do a power ranking. They actually go to 76, but they had to rejuggle because they took Pac-10 and Pac-12 and Big Ten schools out. So Cincinnati is 13, Memphis is 14, and UCF is 15. They're all ahead of Tennessee at 16. And you're talking about 3 top 15 teams. That's never happened before. So yeah, there is that exposure. There's the opportunity. We had Steve Earhart on a little bit earlier from the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, your friend. And there's the possibility that, let's say, bowls that had a combination of SEC or ACC with a Big Ten or a Pac-12, there's an open end now. Maybe the American can get in on some of that money.
Well, and the money is important, but I mean, in a serious business context, and I've talked to a few of my favorite athletic directors at a lot of different conferences, and part of the discussion is how to turn the bowls into something special this year, assuming they're going to happen. And a lot of people, and I know Steve Earhart will be a center of this, but how do you use them as far as the rankings are concerned? What do you do as far as the FBS championship? Obviously, as a Miamian, you were excited about playing the national championship down in Miami, but how do you do it where 3 Power Fives are playing in the fall and maybe 2 Power Fives in the spring, but nobody knows? So it's all open-ended, and I think just like there's a lot of creativity, 22 NHL playoff teams, 22 NBA, it turned out beautifully for the NHL. I think there can be some fun stuff at the end of the year relative to the bowls.
Do you think that there would be a chance that the college football playoff committee and college football as the entity, not the NCAA, because they're not the power brokers here,
right?
But the Power 5 commissioners that would dictate all of this, do you foresee that they would say, you know what? Let's open it up. Let's get 8 in there and include maybe one of the non-Power 5 in.
It makes too much sense. It'll never happen.
That's the problem, right?
Yeah, well, it is an interesting concept. And if I'm the Power 5 commissioners and I'm Kevin Warren and Larry Scott, I don't know what my position is, because I sure would like to generate some significant money that we all could partake in. And why not create some excitement in December relative to a playoff that's unconventional? But what am I going to do with my respective conferences who've opted to sit out the fall, and how do I preserve their position in the spring? Do I have a Pac-12, Big Ten fake national championship spring playoff? I don't know. We don't discuss that yet because it's only August. But those are very interesting conversations this year. And for football fans who are all bitching about, it's only 3 of the big Power 5. Just think of it. If the Big 10 and Pac-12 do play, and let's say they start playing in January or February, you got basically 7-8 straight months of college football. So suck it up and enjoy it.
Well, the only problem I see with that, and Nick Saban has pointed this out, is if the Big Ten and the Pac-12 did try to play a spring sport game, would all their stars play? Or would they go, wait a second, we got the draft, we got to worry about that, that's coming up, we got to start training for that in May, we're not going to partake in that.
Yeah, and it becomes an undergraduate fest, which, for television revenue for those two conferences may be better than no games at all. But I'm pretty sure that if I'm draftable in the first 4 or 5 rounds, you're right, I don't take that chance. On the other hand, if I really want to prove myself and decide to blitz, is the old adage of sitting out the bowl games or not now that a lot of people are doing. Do you take the risk and do you try to play to improve your stock? So I don't think automatically everybody sits out, but I do think there will be some of that attrition. But again, it's football, and I like the idea of at least somebody playing in the spring because it gives us more football.
Staying with football, and I know right now it's only being somewhat considered and somewhat discussed, but with the NFL, we've seen MLB now considering a playoff, a bubble if and when they make it to that. NFL now considering some type of bubble. Do you think it's plausible? And where would they actually be able to set up a bubble to hold that many people, even if it is just for 3-4 weeks?
Man, that's a good question for a 25-year-old.
I appreciate it.
Very, very good. The whole bubble concept makes a lot of sense for manageable numbers. And remember, the NHL bubble is not one bubble, it's two. So, and the NBA's is a little more manageable just because of the size of the rosters. Where would they set it up for the NFL? I don't know. I mean, you could think of domed stadiums, although you do it in the Sun Belt, so the winter weather is not a problem. But Arizona is spiking. Florida is now spiking. So you can go through all of those scenarios. But again, let's see what happens with the NFL and Major League Baseball outside the bubble, play home games, keep fans out, or limited concepts before we default to that. But it is an interesting option. We don't have any discussion about whether people are not going to watch any of these games of any kind of sports on TV. We all love it. Nobody I've talked to recently dislikes the sports that are on TV right now. And nobody is caring that there are no fans. It is ironic and interesting that, Masters, no fans, Kentucky Derby, fans, MLS, some fans, NFL, a few fans, Indy 500, no fans. But regardless, the television experience is priceless.
I do think, though, that no fans is affecting things. I'm not sure the Lakers and the Bucks would be down a game in their series had they started at home. So
yeah, well, so that and by the way, the Lakers and I'm going to get some tweets on this one, I know, but the demonstration and I am very respectful for Black Lives Matter, and I'm very respectful of all of the things the NBA does. Doesn't somebody think that some of the orchestrated protests that happened last night affected the Lakers' performance just a little bit? What do we think?
Could be. Could very well be.
Yeah. I don't know. There is no home field advantage. You're absolutely, or home court advantage. Although there was some discussion early on about the NBA bubble. Remember 2 months ago that the team with the better record got the better hotels. So
I do remember that.
Remember that? So
yeah.
So the team with the worst record would get one of the Disney caricature hotels where your ceilings are like 4'3". That would kill them.
That would be
but
painful.
That didn't happen.
No.
Didn't happen.
We were talking about pressure, and the Big Ten commissioner now has parents coming to Rosemont, Illinois, right outside Chicago by O'Hare Airport, to try and put pressure on the Big Ten to reconsider. Do you think the Big Ten is locked in now to not playing, considering we're not even sure they really took a vote?
Yeah, well, listen, Kevin Warren is a friend. He ran the Vikings. He's a contributor to my Sport Business Handbook. It's really interesting that his first big decision as Big Ten commissioner coming right over was this one, because you can't win. It's 5 big conferences with a similar set of facts, and 3 conferences go one way and 2 conferences go the other way, but the same situations apply. Social distancing, non-on-campus learning. Now we've got, as you know, Michigan State, a Big Ten school, Notre Dame, North Carolina, all pulling their kids off campus or suspending learning on campus for a while. So I don't know the answer to that, but I'm pretty sure people coming to Rosemont to protest probably isn't going to sway Kevin Warren. What will sway Kevin Warren is the lawyers and the doctors. And I know he's a very thoughtful human being. So part of the issue is, what about the remuneration? How do you give the athletes another scholarship? How do you protect them? How do you extend their eligibility? Not, I'm going to reverse my decision because some parents are showing up at my door.
Rick, why do you think that the parents and the players of the Big Ten are so outraged, but we're not hearing any rumbles or disagreements or even players and parents being mad at the Pac-12?
I know where Larry Scott's office is. It's kind of hard to find. It's tucked into a little alley there, so they can't find it. They're looking around for it. It's over by NBC Comcast, right off of Broad Street. I have no idea. I think it has, it's very, very coincidental. It has nothing to do with the fact that the Big Ten is wrong and the Pac-12 is right. It's a very dicey situation. How do you get the money to support the 20 some odd other sports like Stanford, let's say? The Pac-12 is losing nearly $1 billion in revenue, and that's according to the public numbers. 10 of the 12 Pac-12 schools are public. So other than Stanford and USC, which are not, you can get the numbers. And, for example, the parents is one thing. I understand that. But let's take Stanford, for example. Great golf team, right? Great tennis team. They've always win the Directors' Cup for having one of the best athletic departments ever.
Well, they play more sports than anybody else, too, yeah.
Yeah, for their ability to generate some support for men's sports, women's sports, Title IX. How are you going to get the money if you didn't get any Final Four and March Madness revenue? And then what are you going to do when you have no football? So these are big, big decisions and issues. And I know there are some parents who are saying, look, we got to get my kids to play. There are sure another number of other parents who would say, I'm not going to let my kids be on campus and exposed to this, especially look what happened at North Carolina, Notre Dame, and Michigan State. So it's unprecedented. It really is. I heard this morning that it's so bad that the Kentucky Derby has chosen to run without horses. Oh, Rick, come on, man. Stop. That's terrible. Come on. Is that okay?
That's
come
almost.
On, man. I'm trying to break it down for you guys.
That's almost as good as Lane Kiffin today saying that he thinks all those Pac-10, Pac-12 and Big Ten players should be free to go, and he welcomed them in Oxford.
Yeah, of course he would. Yeah, it's going to be a hell of a year, man, for you and Lane Kiffin.
I know.
Listen, I was at FAU. I was watching the FAU stuff from South Florida this last year, and God bless your headlines, right? We may not have time on Wednesdays because you're going to be doing Kiffin cleanup on the air.
He's
every
fun.
day.
He is absolutely fun. Yeah. You're on one of my favorite trips when you get to go drive cool places and go to different golf courses and visit family. Good deal. Have fun.
It is a good deal. It is a good deal, man. Okay. See you next week. And 25-year-old, grow up a little bit. We'll teach you about life.
I turn 26 next month. If it makes any difference.
Happy birthday. You need it, man. You need about 20 more years on that body. That's all we need.
He'll be a week older next year. Thank you. Next week. Thank you, Rick. We appreciate it.
All right, man.
That is our professor, Rick Horrow, from the NBC family of stations and from Harvard. This portion of the show brought to you by the Memphis Tourism and Sports Council. We are so proud to have them as a part of our show. These are the guys that brought the triathlon that was almost here. They'll be back, though. These are the guys that helped to make sure 901 FC had people coming in small doses. They're the ones that are always trying to do better when it comes to sports or tourism in this town. They were the ones that helped to make sure you got the wonderful Shelby Farms Park and the Green Line gliding all over the city or going over the big river crossing. They were part of all of that. Now we're one of the best bike cities in America. Outdoor enthusiasts, you don't want to miss Bass Pro Shops at the Pyramid. You can take your gear to fish, kayak, or paddleboard right near the waterways. I mean, they just are dedicated to making Memphis a better place with all kinds of amenities. And they bring in all kinds of events, and we see it every year. We thank them for being a part of our family as well. We know it'll all get better. We'll be going to AutoZone Park for ball games on a regular basis. We'll be doing a lot of the things that we missed this year. Thank you to the Memphis Tourism and Sports Council. We take the quick timeout. Back in just a minute to put a wrap on hour number 2 of Sports Time on Sports 56.
Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy get you through the midday with Sports 56 Middays. Delivered by FedEx. Weekdays from 10 till 1 on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7.
You'll see the dedication in every single step. You'll see it in the smiles when smiles are hard to get. You'll see it in the little things that add up to success. The caring and passion are the things that we love best.
Wolf Chase Limb Embrace is your Mid-South provider for orthotics and prosthetics. They are an ABC-accredited facility, and their practitioners are ABC certified. At Wolf Chase Limb Embrace, their services include artificial limbs, legs and arms, braces of all kinds, and custom molded inserts. You can call them today at 901-507-7821 for their location on Highway 64 in between Germantown Parkway and Appling Road, or visit them at their new location in Jackson, Tennessee. That number is 731-660-5900, or visit them on the web at wolfchaselimbembrace.com.
Dedicated our life to yours. Wolf Chase Limb and Brace.
All 75 months at 2.99 APR, G4 LHFO 7857, Outlander LU 029538, Eclipse LZO 15617, includes all rebates and incentives. DF 59875, excludes tax title and license with approved credit. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through the end of the month. Dealer stock only.
It's time to fully charge your summer with great savings from Gossett Mitsubishi on the Pike. You'll find 0% APR for 60 months, plus $500 cash back. Drive your ambition in a new 2020 Mitsubishi Mirage G4, $139 a month, or buy for $12,435, 41 MPG Highway. 2020 Mitsubishi Outlander Sport is ready for any adventure at $229 a month, or buy for $18,573. And cross over to summer in a 2020 Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross, $19,107 or $229 a month, backed by a stellar 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. Mirage G4, $139 a month, Outlander Sport, $229 a month, and Eclipse Cross, $229 a month. Get to Gossett Mitsubishi today, 1870 Covington Pike, or shop online at memphismitsubishi.com.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars.
CenterPoint Energy takes many steps to help ensure the safety of gas lines in your community and shares important tips like the following. A distinct odor similar to rotten eggs is added to natural gas. If you smell it, clear the area and immediately call CenterPoint Energy. Plus, always remember to call 811 before you dig or begin an outdoor project. Natural gas is one of the safest fuels. To find more tips, visit centerpointenergy.com/gas safety.
Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Cruising through hour number 2 on this Hump Day Wednesday. The Jazz making a statement. They are down, in the series with the Nuggets, 1-0. But at the moment, they have taken a 21-point lead with 2.5 to go in the third. 95-7-4 Jazz over the Nuggets earlier today. It was a victory for the Toronto Raptors, who now have a 2-0 lead on the Brooklyn Nets. In baseball today, easy win, game 1 of 2. The Cardinals over the Cubs 9-3, the nightcap of that game. So that series now even at 2-2, 5-game series. That thing will, rubber match of that thing will take place a little bit later this afternoon. In the meantime, Notre Dame has decided they're not practicing today, possibly not tomorrow, after the university shifted to remote instruction through at least September the 2nd. Now, I'm going back to what I've said before. I've really gone 180 on this. I was under the impression initially, well, if kids can't be on campus, how can you ask student athletes to be there?
Mm-hmm.
Now we see why.
It's safer for the athletes.
It's safer if the student athlete is under supervised control, staying fairly isolated only with his own group, eating with his group, working out, doing the practice, not going to parties like the Alabama crew. Did you see the gathering of 300 or 400 people without masks?
I did. I saw the group from the school in Georgia earlier this week, and David, it just makes sense that without other students and other parts of the student body there on campus other than the football team, then it's going to help that, because once you get that many people on campus and you get these parties and everything going on, that they're going to mingle. I mean, I can't tell you, just graduated 3.5 years ago, how many athletes I saw at parties, not just fraternity parties, house parties, and just out and about with people.
Well,
and
that's what worries you. Okay, let's just say right now.
I mean, Dave, I probably partied with 90% of the football team and half of the basketball team when I was at Memphis.
Okay, but now this is a different year. There was not a pandemic when you were doing that.
No, but I'm saying
my question is, if 2 or 3 guys, we saw that with the Cleveland Indians, pro baseball players who did not follow the orders, now they're not with the team anymore. But my thing is, if we have student athletes, once Memphis plays Arkansas State, now they're in a bubble and we're taking it virtual. So the odds are pretty good that will remain where they'll be supervised and they're not going to go to bars because there are no bars open.
No.
All right? But if you're in a situation like they were at the University of North Carolina, where there's regular students on campus like they were at Notre Dame before, now they've gone virtual, you've started a football season, and then, okay, a couple of guys decide they're going to go to a fraternity party. That's where all this thing goes backwards in my mind.
Oh, it does.
And I don't know that will finish because of that very reason. Like I said now, I'm pretty convinced that Memphis will play Arkansas State on September the 5th.
I'm over 50% convinced.
But I am not convinced that we'll go the whole year. But we'll see. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful.
I'm hopeful too.
But we have seen now the virtual way is the safer way.
It is,
But
especially
you can't
if we
do that
love the
forever
sport.
either. Right?
No.
Sooner or later, kids have to go to campus.
They do, and especially if I'm one of these parents or students paying all the money for a campus experience, I kind of want what I paid for.
Bottom line is, it really may not be until we have a vaccine, though. And we just may have to be patient for a year.
Well, then I would want to.
We got 164 vaccines being worked on, and 3 in mass trial stages in stage 3. So I'm trying to be as hopeful as I possibly can. That is 2 hours in the books. The third and final hour coming your way right around the corner. We'll head to Colorado. Our friend Thomas Harding with MLB.com. We'll talk baseball with him in just a minute.
I'm here with the great Pat Donahue from the Rendezvous Restaurant Shipping Department.
Thanks, Brett. We've been shipping our ribs all over the country now for decades from our USDA-inspected shipping kitchen in the Pinch District. We hand-cook our ribs in pits that Mr. Charlie built over charcoal, just like they do at the restaurant.
So what comes in a rib box?
We could do pork shoulder, we could do ribs, our sauce, seasoning, baked beans, coleslaw. We'll even throw in Pancho's cheese dip with our nacho boxes. We also put a bag of Rendezvous seasoned popcorn, heating instructions, some chef hats, some wet naps, and some other helpful tips from our kitchen. We ship our ribs overnight, exclusively FedEx. And we put them in nice packaging. We don't ever want to use styrofoam, so we use corrugated cardboard, actually 2 boxes that fit nice together. So the ribs get to you, your loved ones, or your clients in a safe, wholesome manner. Rendezvous ribs are perfect for out-of-town clients, customers, loved ones. We also ship ribs for any occasion.
Where do we order these great ribs?
You can go to www.hogsfly.com or give us a call at 1-888-464-7359.
Charlie Burgos' Rendezvous Restaurant in the alley since 1948.
Years of research, hundreds of tests, thousands of iterations. The result, the latest and dreamiest in sleep innovation. Introducing the new mattresses from Casper. Casper has done it yet again, and with all new mattresses. Waking up with back pain? Introducing Zoned Support. Casper's unique ergonomic system designed to keep your spine aligned when you sleep. And there's something brand new called AirScape. Engineered foam layers with perforations that help regulate your sleep temperature. From bedding, bed frames, even a dog bed, Casper has everything to build the dream bedroom for every kind of sleeper. My Casper is the best mattress I have ever had, hands down. And now Casper is offering free contactless delivery and, as always, free returns. So go to Casper.com and use the code ROAM and get $100 off your mattress order. That's codename ROAM, $100 off your mattress order. Terms and conditions do apply. See Casper.com/terms.
Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Chris Price here for Brian Elder Roofing. The storms we've had over the past several months have been devastating to our communities. The rainy season is ahead. You may have not even noticed the dripping in your attic, water stains throughout your home, or even worse, mold and mildew. Please call Brian Elder Roofing and we will send out our project managers to assess any damage. We will not try to sell you a roof if all you need is a repair. We will measure your roof from outer space. 0% for 60 months, even no payments till 2022 are available with approved credit. If you've noticed missing shingles, water stains, leaks in your roof, call us before you call your insurance company at 867-0303. That's 867-0303, and we will provide a free, thorough inspection of your roof's condition.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
This hour of our show brought to you every day by DeSoto Auto Sales at 5704 Goodman Road. Go online, check them out at DeSotoAutoSales.com and check out all the happy referrals and look at all the beautiful cars. 662-890-7184. Every car test driven, all checked out, bumper to bumper, head to toe, unlimited inventory, every make, every model. And if it's not on the lot, they'll go out and find it for you. No shortcuts taken at DeSoto Auto Sales, where you're treated like family by kind, courteous employees, laid-back atmosphere, no high-pressure sales. They treat you well. They know we're living in a world today that time really matters, so they care about your time and want you to enjoy the ultimate car experience. You walk in within 45 minutes, test drive your car, credit approved, paperwork completed, and you're gone in less than an hour, about 45 minutes in time to do it over your lunch hour or immediately after work, like right now at DeSoto Auto Sales at 5704 Goodman Road. 662-890-7184. Come on down to DeSoto County for that town and country experience at DeSoto Auto Sales.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wallo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Welcome in hour number 3 on what has turned out to be just a fabulous Wednesday afternoon. Temperatures, believe it or not, in the mid-70s in Memphis. On August the 19th, yeah, it's happened. The good news today, too, in terms of COVID numbers, stable, 143 new cases. So we're nowhere near where we had been the last couple of weeks. We did have 5 additional deaths, but we've had 7.6% positivity in testing. And that was a good number of tests, almost 2,000. So this has been a pretty good day in that regard. Baseball-wise, if you're a Cardinal fan, it's been a really good day. They pounded the Cubs' first game of a doubleheader, 9-3. And we're going to talk some baseball here with our friend from MLB.com. That would be the one and only Thomas Hitman Harding. I'll let you know this portion of the show is brought to you by Supercuts. And Supercuts is a locally owned company. It has been since the Czech family brought him here about 32 years ago. Started with one. They've got 15 of them now. And they're very serious about their community and their business. Each one is really, really taking on the precautions that you would expect. It's very important to the folks at Supercuts and the Czech family that health and safety for their team and for the Memphis community is all taken into account. Each of the Memphis area Supercuts salons are now back open, and they are open with what they call the Safe Salon Commitment. That commitment was developed in partnership with top infectious disease doctors to maximize safety and sanitization in all of the Supercut salons, which means when you're ready for your haircut, they're ready for you, and they're prepared to see you. You can learn more about that Safe Salon Commitment and prepare for your visit at supercuts.com. So we go to Colorado. Our friend Thomas Harding, who writes for MLB. We have gotten through bar visits and people getting knocked out. We've gone through people hitting grand slams on 3-0 counts, and those are the usual baseball things, I guess. We've gone through this pandemic and trying to make up games. How do you think, Thomas, so far baseball has done in this crazy season?
You know, if you look at the history of baseball, all kind of crazy things have happened. I mean, if you go back to whether it was losing the World Series in '94 or the shortened season of '91 or the Astros scandal, there are things that happen in baseball that you would expect to happen in the World Wrestling entertainment.
And so baseball is, in a lot of ways, although this is the most unusual year on, at least in our lifetime, or at least in the last century, baseball has always been a little bit crazy. So it's handling this crazy thing about as best as it can. I mean, it's the only it was the first major sport to actually, in the United States, to travel around and do home and road as opposed to being in a bubble somewhere. So looking at that, I mean, if you look at the number of teams that have had outbreaks, it looks like they kind of expected a certain amount of outbreak, to be honest with you. So I would say that while no one wants to see teams lose games and the schedule totally torn up, they had to expect this coming in.
The Cardinals were the worst. I mean, they're having to play, what was it, Drew, 55 games in 48 days with 11 doubleheaders. I think those are the
11
numbers.
doubleheaders in 54 days.
Do you think this is a fair thing for the St. Louis Cardinals?
I think it's a fair thing for the rest of baseball. I don't think it's necessarily fair for the St. Louis Cardinals, but I think going into it knowing the plan that the regular season would end on September 27th, and I believe there may be another date, and it looks like the Cardinals are going to need that to try to get another doubleheader in. I would have liked to have seen some flexibility on the back end of the schedule, but let's face it, there are a lot of teams that are playing normal schedules that didn't have an outbreak, and the guys who weren't sick, they weren't sitting around. So it's a strange situation because I do think that there are tired teams out there. I think because you don't have many off days, there are tired teams, and the teams that had outbreaks, not saying that it's a good thing, but you notice the Marlins and the Cardinals, they came back with hot streaks here.
They
did. Maybe what will happen is that they'll pay for it on the back end of it when they have however many doubleheaders, 15. Maybe that's when it'll all even itself out. It may not be fair to play that many doubleheaders later on, but to be honest with you, if they're playing against teams that have been traveling, that have been doing all the protocols and everything else, and they're tired and they're losing some intensity playing in empty parks. Maybe if they take advantage of that on the front end, that'll be good for them because certainly on the back, they're going to be really tired.
Rick, yeah, you're exactly right. It's going to be who can just keep their energy up for that many games in that short of time. But I want to transition to this, and I feel like this is a conversation that has had every single year, at least for the last 10, maybe 15 years of my lifetime, talking about the unwritten rules of baseball. Is it time for baseball to just get rid of all the quote-unquote unwritten rules and move on, or is there still a place for some of them in the game?
You know, it's hard to get rid of something that doesn't exist.
Exactly.
But does exist, right? Yeah, the unwritten rules, and the thing that I found in the Fernando Tatis Jr. home run in San Diego against Texas, the Padres were up 7 runs in the 8th inning. 2 days before that, here at Coors Field, the Rockies were up 6 runs in the 9th inning, and the Cardinals got the tying run. I mean, not the Cardinals. I'm sorry, the Rangers, the exact same team, got the tying run to the plate that game. The statistician for the broadcast here said there's something like approaching 200 different innings already this year where a team has scored at least 5 runs in an inning. Now, do you want to assume that game is over? I guess if you're talking old school, maybe what happened was teams just gave up on games. So maybe the new school is better, you know? Mm-hmm. Maybe the new school is better. Hey, get those runs while you can. I do think that there is a little bit of too much white glove. We play baseball in the Queen's English type thing going on with whenever someone brings up the old school. But if you look back in baseball history, there has always been a bit of controversy. They've always been players who played with a little bit more emotion. There've always been players who played with a killer instinct. And every time that happens, then people who are older than them say, "Oh, you're not playing the old school way." So I'm a little tired of the argument. I guess it's fun to talk about, but I do wish baseball would move past that because I think that you're taking something that somebody's doing very good and turning it into a negative.
Don't lose, don't put the bases loaded. Don't fall behind by 8 runs. And
pitch a little better.
And you don't have to worry about that. The thing that got me about the Tatis Jr. deal is that his own manager told him to take. So he missed that sign, and I do believe when he says he missed it, I don't think he was disobeying, but he missed a sign. That was his biggest grievance.
Yeah, well, and that's fine. I mean, of course, if I give a take sign and a guy hits a grand slam, I think I'm going to be happy about it. I mean, I'm going to say, listen, guy, maybe we have a kangaroo court and we'll fine you $15 or whatever it is for the team party at the end of the season, but then you move on. Part of me wondered if the manager was just trying to tramp down some of the anger that he was getting from the other side and say, I gave him the take sign just in a way to protect himself, protect the game. I'm not sure who he is trying to protect, because if you look at yesterday, Tatis, they have a lead, and I think the same pitcher that got suspended was on the mound. He stole third with a big lead. Right. And Tatis stole third with a big lead. So while there were mea culpas in the post-game press conferences, I'm not sure they were all that genuine, to be honest with you. And before yesterday's game, it seemed like a lot of the discussion from the Padres was, this guy is good. We're not going to tramp down his enthusiasm. So I'm just not sure how much to believe the mea culpa in the post-game press conference.
Staying out in the California, switching over to the Angels, and every year I pick the Angels to be good. I pick the Angels to be in the postseason because I look at the talent that they've got. I look at probably the best player. No, the best player, definitely the best player in Major League Baseball, in Mike Trout. Why aren't the Angels any better this year?
Because whatever they're expected to do well, they never pitch. I mean, the Angels being good, which everybody expects them to be because they have Mike Trout. It kind of reminds me of, let's face it, every year, I think since the beginning of mankind, or at least since 1988, the Dodgers were supposed to win the World Series, and they never do. So maybe there's something in the California air with that. I don't know what's going on there. But the Angels, to me, they remind me of the Rangers have been through this. A few other teams have been through this, where you're always expecting them to be good, and they're always mediocre. And at some point, you just have to decide that they are mediocre.
I think in the end, I hate to say this because I love Albert Pujols, but I think that deal with Pujols really set him back. And it allowed the Cardinals to be better for a longer period of time after he left than they would have been. And I don't think it ever worked for the Angels.
I'll tell you some background on that one. Jerry DiPoto was the GM of the Angels at the time of that deal. Before he got that job, it may have been 2 jobs before that, he worked in the Rockies front office. He worked with Scott Service, as you recall that DiPoto hired Service as the manager in Seattle. They put together this large volume research project for the then GM Dan O'Dowd, saying you don't sign a guy later in his career to a multi-year contract. What happens? Jerry gets his first GM job, and they end up signing Albert Pujols. And the clear message was Artie Moreno, the owner, he was running that ship. He decided that he wanted to market a guy for the billboards. He had changed the name from Anaheim to Los Angeles, and he wanted somebody for the billboards in Los Angeles. That's what he got. He got something that people that have studied this, including his own general manager, said you don't do, and I think they're paying the price for it.
It doomed the team. I would agree with you. What do you think, as we look now at this experiment of playing in this pandemic the way we're playing, what do you think baseball's done really good? Where do you think they missed the boat?
I think what they've done really well is keep the schedule regionalized. And it seems that what outbreaks they've had have been very limited. There does seem to be confusion over the testing, over if you have a real positive versus a false positive. But I'm having a hard time kicking baseball when really this is just an outgrowth of the fact that we don't have a national plan for this. So Rob Manfred's not the president of the United States, but yet he's trying to come up with a national plan, if you think about it. In a smaller grouping, he's coming up with a national plan of how to do business through a pandemic. We don't have one as the United States of America. So I have a hard time just kicking him over this.
Thomas, so last week got to watch one of the only Orioles games that I ever get to watch, and they're playing the Phillies, and I'm watching Bryce Harper kind of be angry and make a fool out of himself, and I started to think to myself, and you're the perfect person to ask this. Do you think that Bryce Harper is still a top 5 player in Major League Baseball today?
That's something that it's kind of hard for me because I kind of look at this as a team game, and I do think that he has ended up on a team that lost its way really before he got there. Mm-hmm. And I think that's part of the issue there, is that the Phillies, they were one of those teams, and I guess the Phillies would kind of fall to a degree into the category of the Angels, that you think they're going to take off. I do think the Phillies are going to take off. I do think that they're going to be good at some point, but for whatever reason, they missed their chance last year, and it may be another year or so. So I think there's some frustration there with Bryce Harper. I think Bryce Harper, on a very good team, on a contending team, is an awesome weapon to have. Bryce Harper on a team that's kind of lost his way, you're going to see the temper and other things. You know, you saw that temper in Washington. Mm-hmm. You saw him do some things that really upset Dusty Baker, but Dusty Baker was able to handle it and get that team as far as he got it. Granted, they won the World Series after he left, but they were there. They were in it. And I think Bryce Harper is always going to be Bryce Harper. He's always going to be a bit on the high-strung side, maybe a bit emotional. Maybe he'll do some things that'll leave you scratching your head saying, this is one of the highest-paid people in this game. Why is he acting this way? But when he is on and the team is on, I want Bryce Harper on my team.
We look at these standings now, and the guys that you thought would be at the top are at the top. The Yankees, the Twins, maybe the A's are a little bit of a surprise because the Astros, we would have figured would have been in first place in that division. Then you go to the National League, it's the Braves, the Cubs, and the Dodgers. There's no real surprises there. Is there a surprise for you anywhere?
One of the surprises is that Milwaukee isn't better than it is. Cincinnati is another one of those teams that needs to take a step forward. You look at the National League East, and after Atlanta, the rest of the teams, and I'm not counting Miami yet because they barely played. The rest of the teams are disappointing to some degree, especially Washington. I think Washington will bring it on at the end. I do not believe that the Oakland A's are a surprise. If you look at last season, they started slowly and were one of the best teams in baseball for most of the season. So the A's do not surprise me. I guess it's kind of falling true to form. On some radio show somewhere, and forgive me if it was yours, I thought that the Minnesota Twins, if there was going to be a surprise World Series team, was going to be the Minnesota Twins, and the Twins are living up to my expectations.
I think you did say it here. I kind of like the Indians.
Good. I'm glad I said it in Memphis. The big impound. Yeah.
I like the Indians in that division, but the Twins are terrific, and the White Sox are a nice surprise. But really not that big of a surprise. I thought they'd be good too.
I thought they'd be good. They remind me of so many teams. Rockies were in this boat at one point. When you get the talent in, do you have A, enough pitching, and B, enough savvy to get there? And I think that the expanded playoff is going to help them. They're a team that I'm not sure I want to play in a postseason series.
If we get to postseason here, which I think there's a good shot that we will.
I think we're going to get there, whether it's even if it is with a handful of teams crawling.
By hook or by crook.
Yeah. Because there's, over $400 million of playoff of television revenue. Of course we're going to get there.
Well, we might get there with taxi squads, but we're going to get there. But my question for you is, if we do, will we, to ensure that the best players play, will we go into a bubble?
It seems like there's a big desire on the part of Major League Baseball to do that, and generally when they want to do something, they end up doing it. Now, my question will be, how will this be administered? Because unlike the NBA and the NHL, where you could get people into the bubble for 14 days and make sure there's no infection in there, you have about, 3 days after the end of the regular season to get a playoff series going. So I don't know how that's going to work. And you're going to need multiple bubbles in the United States, as opposed to in Canada in the NHL, where their government, frankly, has handled this way better than we have. Can you do that in the United States? Hopefully by then, maybe some answers will have been found. Maybe things would be better. I think that the problem is it's hard to look at numbers because from state to state, from city to city, the testing is so haphazard. It's hard to really even know what the numbers mean at this point. But I think the Major League Baseball wants to play in a bubble, and right now they have these traveling bubbles for each team. They've tightened the restrictions on the road. So if they're able to do that and have that hold and not have any breaches in there, then I think they could do a bubble postseason.
Thomas, with the bubble in the postseason, we throughout the year we've seen that it's been hard to control guys. Obviously with the Indians, we've had problems with the 2 outbreaks.
I'm not hearing anything.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so just talking about the bubble, realistically, they've had trouble controlling players and outbreaks. How much more security do you think that MLB would have to bring in to keep everybody honest, or do you think the honor system would actually work once we get to the playoffs?
Well, I think if you look at it now, how many teams have had outbreaks? The Marlins, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Cardinals, right?
I think the Reds just did, didn't they?
Yeah, the Reds, Marlins, Cardinals, and Reds. So 3 out of 30, what happens is it affects all the other teams. So, like I say, this is a traveling bubble, and I think it's harder to do. The Rockies, they sent home Elias Diaz, one of their catchers, for a bubble breach, I guess it was, at the hotel on the last road trip. So what happened is after the Cardinals outbreak, and there were reports of visiting casinos, and we don't know what went on there. Major League Baseball did get with the Players Association, and they did tighten things up, and they added kind of an enforcement person there on the road. So if what happened on the Rockies road trip holds up, at least they'll have some enforcement there. I think it's harder to do a bubble when you're traveling around, but I'm not. I don't think it's been a complete failure. And like I say, if you look at kind of the way they planned the season out, they expected outbreaks. So outbreaks are news, but they expected them. I don't think anybody expected to get through a season in the United States of America traveling around without outbreaks.
I don't think anybody knew, and we're going to see how it works with football and in college football and NFL football the same way. Baseball, I think for the most part, I give Rob Manfred a tip of the cap, because when there was controversy, when the Cardinals missed all those games, they stuck to the plan. They didn't quite use the taxi squad the way I thought they would, but they pretty well stuck to the plan. But I would go all out for a bubble for the playoffs just to be safe, so that the better players could play.
Yeah, I think that makes some sense to bubble the playoffs. It's just that where do you do it? How do you do it? How many bubbles do you need? Those are questions I haven't answered, because I really haven't asked them yet. But hopefully they're working on this, because it does seem that Major League Baseball desires some kind of bubble. Yeah, the taxi squad. When I looked at that plan, there were holes in it to me, because the taxi squad is in effect only on the road. And what happens is, if you go on the road with the team, the taxi squad people are supposed to go back to the alternative training site. So if something happens on the road where one of those guys gets a virus, does he take it to the alternative training site, and then you don't have reserves to call up? That I'm not sure exactly how it's working or how it works, and admittedly, I don't. I don't have all of the information on that, but that's a question I'm asking.
Well, the thing I never understood, seriously, was when the Cardinals were in Milwaukee and they had 8 guys, they sent those 8 guys home. So they could have tested for 2 or 3 days the remaining Cardinals that were at the Pfister Hotel in Milwaukee and brought up the taxi squad and brought them to the next site. and have the other team meet them when they were ready to go instead of having to miss 2 weeks the way it was. I've never understood the way that worked.
Well, here's the issue, though, and I don't know that I can answer this question, but I can take a stab at it. Okay, you have 8 guys test positive, and you send them home. But the issue is, how many of those 8 guys were exposed to other guys that are still with the team? So you've got to make sure those guys that are still with the team are safe before you bring anybody else into the situation.
True, but if they pass 2 negative tests, you assume they're good, and you've got these other guys to go join them. I'm not saying bring them to the hotel, bring them to the new place.
It's possible. I think that once you have positive tests, though, there's a certain period of time that's longer than enough for 2 negative tests, and that's why teams get delayed for so long. If a bunch of people have been exposed, I'm not sure how long it takes to really know if anybody else is exposed to it.
There's obviously a longer period of time than I have taken into account. There's no question about that.
If there are not positives, then it's fine. Once you have positives, then I think that the standards kind of change, because you could be asymptomatic for a number of days or not show up for 2 or 3 days. That's my understanding. That's why teams lose so many games, as opposed to, hey, you tested positive, you can't play. Everybody else, let's go get them.
Right. Yeah, obviously that's the case.
And when you bring in new guys, you can't – at some point they have to be around their teammates. I mean, unless I don't know how you would bring in new guys and not expose them to the rest of the guys who may or may not have this situation. So that's a tough part. And it's an answer that it seems that the experts are like, what you need to do is be overly cautious.
Thomas Harding. You used to read them in the Commercial Appeal. You read them at MLB.com. Now, Thomas, thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon. Stay healthy.
Hey, thanks for having me. You guys stay healthy, too.
Thanks, Thomas.
Thomas Harding from MLB.com, brought to you by the Eflin Insurance Group. When you want a great value without sacrificing great service, I want you to think Eflin Insurance and the entire Eflin Insurance team. Matt and his team, they're professionals. They access 10 leading companies. They find the right home and auto program that fits your needs and, maybe more importantly, your budget. Need commercial insurance? Because they do both. He's got guys and gals ready for you. They have virtually unlimited access to programs to protect your small to mid-sized business. And let's not forget life insurance. Eflin's got you covered there as well, with quotes from 15 well-respected companies. You'll never wonder if you've gotten a good deal. You know that you have. Call Grant, Andrew, or Heath. They are ready for you at 901-386-GER. That's 901-386-4777. That's the Eflin Insurance Group, proud supporters of the University of Memphis. We take the time out. When we come back to Tampa, we go. TJ Reeves is standing by. He's next.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7.
Napa know-how.
This month, Napa's got all kinds of motor oil deals that can save you some serious cash. Like a 5-quart jug of Napa full synthetic motor oil for just $16.49. With savings like that, you may start feeling like a VIP. But don't let it go to your head. These oil deals are for everyone. Quality parts, helpful people. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know-how.
General States pricing. Sales prices not include applicable state, local taxes, or recycling fees. Offer ends 8/31/20.
All 75 months at 2.99 APR, G4 LHFO 7857, Outlander LUO 29538, Eclipse LZO 15617, includes all rebates and incentives. PF 59875, excludes tax title and license with approved credit. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through the end of the month. Dealer stock only.
It's time to fully charge your summer with great savings from Gossett Mitsubishi on the Pike. You'll find 0% APR for 60 months, plus $500 cash back. Drive your ambition in a new 2020 Mitsubishi Mirage G4, $139 a month, or buy for $12,435, 41 MPG Highway. 2020 Mitsubishi Outlander Sport is ready for any adventure at $229 a month, or buy for $18,573. And cross over to summer in a 2020 Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross, $19,107 or $229 a month, backed by a stellar 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. Mirage G4, $139 a month, Outlander Sport, $229 a month, and Eclipse Cross, $229 a month. Get to Gossett Mitsubishi today, 1870 Covington Pike, or shop online at memphismitsubishi.com.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Car.
Did you know nearly 40% of men under 40 and over 75% of men over the age of 40 experience sexual performance concerns? At the Memphis Men's Clinic, their experienced physician performs a comprehensive evaluation that determines which specific issues may interfere with your sexual performance. These issues can vary and range from anxiety to medical issues, low testosterone, or erectile dysfunction. The Memphis Men's Clinic has evaluated hundreds of men of all ages over the years and reestablished a normal sexual life. The Memphis Men's Clinic will work aggressively to resolve issues and allow you to restore your sexual health and overall well-being. That's the Memphis way. If you're 20 years old or 90 years old, come and get cared for the Memphis way. Treatment that's based on your specific needs after a professional clinical evaluation by their experienced board-certified physician. Call the Memphis Men's Clinic today at 901-443-0475 or visit memphismensclinic.com.
Even in times like these, special occasions happen. And when an occasion calls for special, it calls for 117 Prime, Memphis's premier downtown dining destination. From the spectacular 36-ounce porterhouse paired with a Ferrari Carano Cabernet, to the jumbo lump crab cakes, to the raw bar with oysters fresh off the boat from the Gulf and the East Coast, there is simply no finer dining experience in Memphis than 117 Prime in the heart of downtown. These are complicated times, but if you want simply the best, you want 117 Prime.
Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wallo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Welcome back in. Brett Norsworthy, on vacation, relaxing. We'll see him in about a week and a half. Drew Barrett filling in for him. I mentioned a little bit earlier in the program, and this has been a good day with the numbers going down. It's also been a big day in golf because for the first time, the western part of the state of Tennessee is holding at Chickasaw Country Club the senior and super senior state championship. Never had it here before, so that's a positive, and apparently Chickasaw looks fantastic. I did kind of pass by it yesterday. Some locals from Ridgeway and TPC Southwind. Tim Jackson, Buzz Fly, they are at 12 under. They are in the lead. Several others like Eddie McDougal and Barry Stafford, they're in the hunt, couple of strokes off. A lot of big names here. So this is quite cool, and we'll actually do something, I think, with this tomorrow at some point. In the meantime, it looks like it's over now. Game 2 in the NBA, 124-105. Jazz over the Nuggets. So Utah evens that series with Denver at a game apiece earlier. Toronto took a 2-zip lead on Brooklyn. They were 104-99 winners. Cardinals killed the Cubs game 1, 9-3. That was your final. They are in the early stages. I think they're still in the first inning of game number 2. This portion of the show brought to you by Conway. Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, electric, and, of course, they're always trying to make sure you have new technology at a very affordable price. As the summer heats up, hard to say that on a beautiful day like today, but it's going to get hot again over the weekend. Humidity is going to go up. Usually when the summer heats up, old, inefficient air conditioning systems can't keep up. This is why I want to get you with new technology, and John's making it so darn affordable. They got air conditioning systems now as low as $79 a month. You can replace that old energy guzzler for as low as $79 a month if you've got approved credit. With today's more efficient models, basically, you're saving that much money on your energy bill every month. It pays for itself. All you got to do is make the call. 384-3511, 384-3511. Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, and the electric. We go to Tampa. Probably pretty sure it's hot there. Our friend TJ Reeves, sideline reporter for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, amongst many other things that he does, including his 3 Dog Thursday podcasts. Hope I got all that right. There's an interesting story, Mr. Reeves, today about the NFL considering a playoff secure environment. In other words, a bubble for the playoffs. Give me your thoughts real quick on that one.
Very interesting. First of all, good to be with you. And yes, still blazing hot with tons of humidity in Tampa. And we'll get to Bruce Arians pointing that out about Rob Gronkowski's conditioning and that Tampa heat is different than New England heat. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But, this whole thing is evolving with all of professional sports. Obviously, the NBA and the NHL already did the bubble. Major League Baseball is not doing it. It's really highly problematic and almost impossible to do it with an NFL regular season. Now, for the playoffs, I would assume they're talking about a couple of locations, not unlike what the NBA and the NHL. The NBA did one, the NHL did two. A couple of locations, and then play the games maybe, staggered on Saturday and Sunday at the two locations there to make sure with testing and all of that it could happen. So, again, I think everything's on the drawing board. It's an interesting point, and it's something they would have to consider more, obviously, for January and February in trying to play the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and with the bubble, I kind of want to, you being the sideline reporter, TJ, let's say they were going to do a bubble for the playoffs and the Bucs were in it. Would you be comfortable going for a week or two into a bubble at this point?
You must be eavesdropping in my own house, Drew, with conversations that we're having about these things. Look, if duty calls here, the Bucs, first of all, haven't been in the playoffs since my twins were born. Let me say that again, Wolo.
I know
twins
that.
Twins are 12, and the Bucs have not been in the playoffs since the twins were born and John Gruden was the coach. So if they were to require of me, I may not need to say this as loudly. I may have to lower the voice in the house here. If they were to require of me that I need to be there with them for the duration, then that's what you got to do. And a lot of the reporters, a lot of the guys broadcasting the games in these bubbles, they've had to make the same commitment while their team was alive. National broadcasters, other national media members, they've had to make that commitment that you might be here 2 weeks, 3 weeks. You might be here a couple of months, depending on how it plays out. So yes, is the answer to your question. I would not miss on that. And if they were requiring that, I would participate, because you also have to look at it as that's going to be the most sanitary place you could be from COVID-19 or anything else. Yes, you're away from your family a little bit. You can do the video conferencing and that kind of stuff, but let's see if it comes to it. Let's see what we're able to work out reasonably and how all this goes. It's still an unknown, guys.
The interesting thing to me is you're going to play 16 games before you get into a bubble. I mean,
right.
I'm not sure I quite follow the logic. Baseball's doing the same thing, though. I mean, baseball, and this is to ensure, and I think this is why the NFL is doing it. It's just too cost prohibitive to try and bubble up a whole year. And I think the NBA is going to be well aware of that if they were to try to do that again next year. I think they would probably try and proceed within their own sort of isolation in their home stadiums and not have people for another year, if that were the case. Or I've even seen stories now where they're saying they would wait to start the season in March so that there'd be a vaccine that would be already mass distributed, so they could at least start to bring in fans as they played, and they wouldn't have to be in these cost prohibitive bubbles.
You're talking about the NBA right now, not the NFL.
Right. Talking about the NBA. Now, when we talk about Major League Baseball, their concept behind this is because it is too cost prohibitive with the amount of people they got on each team and the amount of games they're going to play. So this is why they went with that option plus, which that's what the players wanted. The players wanted to be with their families. So now they could say, we're doing this, but come playoffs, we don't want to take a chance of any disruption of the star players. This is why for the playoffs, guys, you're going to have to, until you're eliminated, you're going to have to be in a bubble. And they'll bite the bullet for playoffs, but not for a whole season, and you're eliminating half the field through each round. So
and I buy that.
And I buy it because it means that your better players are not going to be afflicted. They're all going to be healthy, and that's the whole point, especially when you're getting, I think, what was the Thomas Harding hit the price at $400 million in TV money just for the playoffs alone. You have to consider how important that is. That's probably why the NFL might do that for a playoff environment.
Well, and again, we're also looking ahead to 5-6 months from now and what that's going to look like. And we learn more about this and watch more of this unfold with each passing week, it seems like, now that sports have resumed. So let's see. Let's be reasonable. Let's be safe. Wear your masks, yes, for right now. Social distance, yes. But as these sports are being played, and I mean, that's a big part of the debate that's going on right now, that you got three power conferences that want to play. And obviously in Memphis And in Tampa and in other American Conference markets, they're interested completely here on the big boys also wanting to play and hang in there. But you got two conferences that don't want to play, and there's great debate about how safe is it or not. And there's a lot of belief that in the Big Ten and the Pac-12's case, they want to sit back and let the other conferences essentially experiment and be the guinea pigs here, and be the ones that if they're wrong, they're the ones that are wrong. But by the same token, if it works out that you're able to play these games and do it reasonably and do it safely, then boy, does that backfire obviously on the Big Ten and the Pac-12 not being willing to go along with it, if that is the case.
DJ, if we do get to college football, and obviously here in Memphis, we're only 2.5 weeks away from it. That's September 5th start against Arkansas State. How many outbreaks or universities would it take to shut it down? I mean, for the American, and not to just pick on Tampa because we're talking to you, but let's say there's a huge outbreak in the South Florida program. Is that enough to shut down the American, or would it take multiple programs?
I think, so there's 2 or 3 points. The first one is that there is a strong argument, and it is getting stronger in light of what has happened this week at the University of North Carolina, and also Michigan State going ahead and saying we're going to go completely e-learning, and North Carolina had an on-campus outbreak from last week, and they went e-learning earlier this week. The argument that many of the powerful coaches have already made that we are safer in our environment with testing, with trainers, with doctors, than if these football players were not with us and were not being tested and were not aware that they had transmitted the virus to each other, like a lot of the college students have been. Notre Dame also had like an 80-student outbreak or something like that in the student general population earlier this week too. So you got that argument. The next argument is you got far more players in college football to go down the depth chart. Yes, a lot of them are inexperienced and freshmen, but you could, if you had 10 players that couldn't play in a certain week, and you guys know this, it doesn't affect a college team quite as much as it now if they're starters, I get it, but and important players, I get it, but not as much by the pure numbers as it would the NFL, where there's only 53 guys on an active roster. Now they got expanded practice squads, so that's the second factor. What kind of depth do you have? And then if you have a bye week or two to play with, and you can reschedule things, and that's why the SEC built in an extra week as well. You may have to reschedule games. You may have to hit the pause button, which is what you're talking about, Drew and Dave. We talked about this before on the show. You might have to hit the pause button.
I've got some breaking news right now that makes me want to pause. Because each show it seems like we're on a roller coaster ride, ups and downs. Today we had good COVID news until right now. Ole Miss, University of Mississippi, is reporting, their athletic department is reporting 14 new positive COVID cases, 13 athletes and 1 staff member, and this is classified as a outbreak when you have that many. And this is what they just got back to campus on Monday, didn't you say?
Yeah, they just started practice on Monday and just started classes on Monday, and I think they were, if not, I want to say it's 100% e-learning as well.
Well, and again, I'm going to remain positive on a couple of these fronts. So the reason you know that the athletes are positive is because they are being rigorously tested. So I would say, hypothetically, without knowing, how many of the general student population at Ole Miss know whether they have it or not and are spreading it or not because they're not being tested? And so the other part of that point is the younger component here being healthier and being able to overcome it is another important point of the argument. And I think that needs to be continued to be articulated while we have the pauses like we just did for, okay, there's 13 that tested positive. We got to keep going with how many are seriously ill, how many are hospitalized, and how long do we pause a game or a couple of games for, depending on what this is. And that's an evolving answer. That's not an answer for right now on August the 19th. That's an evolving answer as we go.
The bummer here is, and I have no idea who these are, but if we're just going to throw out supposition here, what if that was your offensive line group? 13 guys.
Oh, yeah.
And let's say this occurred and all hypothetical, this was the University of Memphis, and they're getting ready to play September the 5th, and this occurred on September the 3rd, and your whole offensive line, 13 guys got COVID, and your coach, there's your 14th. How do you play a game?
All things to work out, all things to try, and they're going through all of these different scenarios. So we'll see. We'll see from the college standpoint and the NFL standpoint on how you make it happen. I mean, I reiterate again, and I'm saying this on my own Three Dog Thursday podcast that you plugged. I've been on a couple of other interviews that are saying this. You have to be prepared that you're going to have players and coaches test positive. You cannot bury your head in the sand and say that it's not going to happen when you're outside of a bubble environment like we've been talking about this whole interview. What do you do if there are positive tests? And are you going to remain steadfast? Major League Baseball could have shut the season down. But Rob Manfred, the owners and the players said, we're going to find a way to make it work and reschedule. And by the way, it's an important point. Out of all the positive tests with Major League Baseball, to our understanding, there have been no hospitalizations, no serious illnesses, none of that. That should be articulated as well while they're continuing to play and continuing to test. So with that, we continue the debate and we roll on.
Right, and as long as you continue that debate, the other argument, and I throw this out just because it is one of those arguments, is that those baseball players who are risking that, and you're right, no one has I think several did go to an emergency room for being dehydrated, and once they were given IVs, then they were able to go home. But those guys are making literally millions of dollars. Right. You're asking young guys who are not getting paid at all, other than their education, which is significant, but it's not like the millions we're talking about the pros get.
You're correct.
And we're asking them in some regard here to be the barometer, the litmus test, because we have no idea how all of this is going to work out. But we'll have to wait and see. And as far as I know, again, I'll point out, September the 5th, Memphis is playing Arkansas State at this point. And they are sincere in trying to get that game going. We'll just have to wait and see. When you get North Carolina pausing and Notre Dame pausing today and now this outbreak at Ole Miss, it certainly opens up your eyes to we are certainly not settled in a pattern that is as favorable as the COVID case in Memphis has been the last couple of days. What is it like in Tampa in talking about USF or in Orlando near you, in talking about UCF and football starting, and I, we throw in Florida because they're another conference playing the SEC. Have there been folks that have been saying, well, look at the Pac-10, look at the Pac-12, look at the Big Ten, they shouldn't be playing? What's the consensus?
No, I would say there's
been
none of that sentiment here. And you got to remember a lot of this. This is a humongous college football area, the Tampa Bay area, a huge college football state because of Florida, Florida State, and now USF and UCF in the last 15, 20 years have cranked up. USF's got a new head coach, the former Clemson co-offensive coordinator Jeff Scott. They are practicing, and they're trying to figure it all out. They lost a humongous payday to go play Texas on that same Labor Day weekend because the Big 12 shuffled their schedule and did away with multiple out-of-conference games, at least for the moment, and Texas is not going to play USF in that instance. So they're trying to figure that out, and there's a lot of anticipation in Tampa Bay. I can tell you about that, about the Bulls, much more so with Brady and the Buccaneers, which we'll talk about for 1 second before you got to get out of here, I know. But over at UCF, remember, they've had quite the last 2 or 3 years, and there's a lot of anticipation there. And these programs want to know, are we going to be able to get this off the ground? And they're looking to the bigger Power 5, SEC, ACC, and Big 12 schools on them holding in. Because we all know if those schools waver, if those conferences waver, then that's it, obviously, for the American, the Sun Belt, and Conference USA that are also hanging out.
Well, we'll just have to wait and see. That is the only thing I can tell you. I want to believe it'll all happen. I really do. But some of these things today have just made me wonder and shake my head a little bit.
Well, I'll put a quick smile on your face because Bruce Arians is not one to hold back when being asked about about anything, and I love that about him. And they asked him about Rob Gronkowski towards the end of one of the first Bucs practices. They began to practice Monday and Tuesday in the heat. Today they were inside. There were massive thunderstorms here in the morning, so the Bucs had been working out in the morning. They went to their indoor practice facility today. But he was talking about Gronk and the heat, and he started talking about New England heat versus Tampa Bay heat. And he said, this humidity will get your ass. That's what he said about Gronkowski and having to get ready. It is a different type of environment down here to get ready during training camp, and we'll see. I'm anxious to see what the Bucs look like as we go along. And again, it's weird. We have no preseason games, so they're going to practice and gear towards playing in September. But it's a great unknown right now.
Thank you, my friend. We appreciate it. We will talk with you next week, usual time.
Always good to be with you, boys. You be well, stay positive. Let's get the Tiger season going. Let's get the college football going if we can, when it's reasonable and it's safe. Be well.
Appreciate it, TJ.
Let's just hope that is the case for sure. Thank you much. TJ Reeves down in Tampa, brought to you in part by Homer Skelton Hyundai in Olive Branch, and Genesis of Olive Branch. Same building, getting bigger. They are, they're just selling cars like crazy. And there's a reason. They are so good at what they do. Now the 2021s are coming in. With every new Genesis, with every new Hyundai, you get a limited lifetime powertrain warranty and a 3-year, 36,000-mile maintenance package with every new car. Every one of them. And I talk about their durability and the incredible technology and performance, but what about the safety? Hyundai, tied for the most number of top safety pick vehicles in 2020. You just pair the product that you get with Hyundai and Genesis with this group, the standard, the bar that has been set by Homer Skelton when it comes to the way business is done. You just can't beat the combination. Go see for yourself. Get on Lamar, Highway 78 in Mississippi, exit 1 Craft Road, turn left, you're there. Go see Chris True and all the gang. They've been together a while. They really do care about you and their product at Homer Skelton Hyundai and Genesis of Olive Branch. We've got Crunch Time coming your way in a minute.
It's R&R on Sports.
The word is out about R&R on Sports, where you've heard interviews from
Ken Griffith Jr., Dr. J, Hank Aaron, and many, many more.
R&R on Sports, Saturday mornings, 10 a.m., Sports 56, 87.7, and 96.1.
Don't miss us.
Summertime and the living is easy. No more cutting or paying utilities. Literally, you guys, Town Village Audubon Park, nestled in the heart of East Memphis, located corner of Park and Cherry, is a beautiful residential neighborhood. Looking for a great place to retire, but you still have a very active lifestyle? Then visit Town Village. Only requirements that you're 55 plus. Prices per month starting at $24.50. The Gourmet Chef welcomes you to visit our restaurant and bistro. Package includes 3 complimentary meals per day, maid service, free local transportation, monthly coffee club, theme dinner parties, lots of fun. Visit us and call Daniel or Bo at Town Village Audubon Park at 901-374-7342. There's no place like home. Town Village Audubon Park.
It's the Summer of Performance event at Acura of Memphis. Acura's entire lineup sets the luxury and performance standard, like the award-winning sedan, the Acura TLX, or the 3-row 7-passenger SUV, the Acura MDX, or Acura of Memphis's top-selling luxury crossover, the Acura RDX. Aggressive pricing, customized lease options, and low financing rates are at Acura of Memphis. Don't miss these deals. Visit AcuraofMemphis.com.
Great news, sports fans! The Butcher Shop Steakhouse is now open for dine-in service. Make a reservation and enjoy a mouth-watering steak dinner. Or, if you prefer, take it curbside. In addition to their fantastic steaks, the Butcher Shop Steakhouse has a variety of entrees, including Canadian lobster tail, crab-stuffed shrimp, pan-seared red snapper, and fresh ground steak burger with portobello mushroom sauce. Planning to cook out? The Butcher Shop Steakhouse offers a great selection of fresh Angus beef, hand-cut steaks and burgers, lamb chops, Atlantic salmon, and more. Make your reservation for dine-in or pre-order for curbside pickup. The Butcher Shop Steakhouse, dine-in, curbside, and delivery. Plus, enjoy the sizzle of top-quality Butcher Shop steaks on your own grill. Call us at 757-4244. And visit our website, thebutchershop.com, for menus and more. The Butcher Shop Steakhouse, Walnut Grove and Germantown Parkway.
This story is called The Ugly Truth About Timeshare. If you think you've done your family a favor by buying a timeshare, you need my help. Hello, I'm Chuck McDowell, CEO and founder of Wesley Financial Group. 10 years ago, I started helping folks cancel their timeshare contracts, and in the process started what's now called the timeshare cancellation industry. Timeshare is the only thing that you can buy that you can't tell me how much it's going to cost or when it's going to end. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check to fill out any amount they want for annual maintenance and assessment fees. Sound crazy? The crazy thing is, this never ends. Stop the insanity today. Call my office now. I guarantee if we can't cancel your timeshare contract, you'll pay nothing.
Were you lied to when buying a timeshare and want out? Get the facts about timeshare cancellation. Call Wesley now for your free information kit. 800-967-7711. 800-967-7711. 800-967-7711.
Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wallo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy. Come on.
This is Geraldo. It is crunch time. You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that?
Take questions again for the student athletes at this time, please.
What's happening, big dog? How you doing?
Is this thing working? It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin. This baby is over. Woo! Woo!
Time for Taco Bell Crunch Time. Taco Bell, home of the crispy tortilla chips, topped with a double portion of either seasoned beef or shredded chicken, plus refried beans, nacho cheese sauce, reduced fat sour cream, guacamole, and a 3-cheese blend. Nachos Bel Grande, heaping portion of chips, topped with ground beef, tomatoes, beans, nacho cheese sauce, and a dollop of sour cream. Taco Bell, home to great food you get on your way home real fast, and they bring you crunch time every day.
Drew, I learned today, Big Ten Commissioner Kevin Warren released an open letter to the conference community stating that the vote of the Big Ten Council of Presidents and Chancellors was overwhelmingly in support of postponing fall sports and will not be revisited.
I learned today that Arch Manning of Isidore Newman made his debut today on 24/7 Sports, top 100 for the class of 2023, and number 5 overall, and the number 1 quarterback in the class.
I had that myself. Generation to generation to generation. Number 1 QB, number 5 overall. That is the Manning legacy. I guess both of us could have done without this story of Ole Miss, 13 athletes, and a staff member, what we call an outbreak of COVID-19. And we'll be watching baseball, basketball, and hockey tonight. That'll do it for us. We thank Steve Earhart, John Goen, Rick Coro, Thomas Harding, and TJ Reeves. We'll do it again tomorrow. Have a great night, everybody.